It's 11:59 at Gun Owners Radio, and this is the Penn Patriot, music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, and another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind American lines, this is your song.
Welcome to Gun Owners Radio. We have a very cool show for you today. We're going to do a show full of interviews. We have so many interviews from NRA's, Houston annual meeting that we want to trickle them out and get them to you as quickly as possible because there's so much that we cover, so much to learn. My name is Michael Schwartz. I'm a co-host here at Gun Owners Radio. I'm also the executive director for San Diego County Gun Owners. Alicia, who are you exactly?
So I'm Alicia Curtin, co-host here on Gun Owners Radio, firearms instructor, CCW instructor, San Diego Concealed Carry, Discount Gun Mart, and Second A Firearms.
Well, bam. And Dakota, how are you?
Good. Just came back from a bunch of travel, so excited to be home for a little bit in the studio again. My name is Dakota Adelphia. I am a firearms instructor, CCW instructor, and facilitator of the San Diego chapter of A Girl and a Gun. I wear a bunch of hats, do some competitive shooting, work for a holster company, Filster Holsters, and all sorts of fun stuff, industry related.
And San Diego is the biggest chapter, right? Of A Girl and a Gun?
It is the biggest chapter of A Girl and a Gun, yes.
Congratulations.
Thank
you just got back from A Girl and a Gun. What is that?
Conference.
National conference.
So once a year, A Girl and a Gun, all of the active members get an invitation. And to be clear, an active member just means you paid the $50 a year. You don't even have to have a chapter near you or anything like that. You could just have given them the $50 a year, and it opens up all of these training opportunities for you every year. So once a year in late April, early May, we have what's called the national conference. And the last few years, it's been in Colorado at a place called Cameo. It's a phenomenal shooting range. It's got over 20 live fire bays, all sorts of dry fire areas, big ballroom, like warehouse thing where we have events. And it's when you get there, you're just like blown away by the massiveness of this property and how many amenities they have. They have an archery range. They have long range precision rifle that goes out to, I think the biggest one might be a mile. Wow. But I had girls in my chapter who were hitting like 1,750 yard shots this past weekend. So super fun long range stuff out there. And they do all sorts of classes. We have literally some of the best names in the industry. Adam Winch, Defenders USA, Brian Hill from The Complete Combatant, Chuck Haggard from Agile Tactical Consulting. Yeah, sorry, Chuck. I know the name of your company, I promise. That was just kind of alphabetical order. I thought of an A, a B, and a C. But we've got so many instructors. I want to say there were over 70 this year. And there's something like 40 training sessions happening for each session. So it's all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. So every participant gets to take 6 sessions, and some of them are lectures, some of them are dry fire, and some of them are live fire. You got rifle, shotgun, and pistol. You've even got some 3-gun classes where you shoot all 3 of those platforms in one session. But it's really just anything from defensive shooting to competitive shooting. We had some fantastic competitive instructors this year, AJ Zito and Walt Prue, and some other folks that are big in the competition space. And then you've got things like pepper spray, grappling. I took a class this year from Jeremy Horn, which for anybody who's like an MMA nerd, that name means something to you. But he was a really good fighter, MMA fighter for a long time. He did some UFC stuff, and he hosted this, all ladies grappling class, and he's basically telling us that most of the women's self-defense classes we've taken were bullshit, which I already knew. You go to this class and they're like, if only you do this, you could get free. And then, I go home and ask my husband to try to hold me down, and he does easily. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't actually work. But Jeremy's class was focused on like, what can we actually do to try to leverage what we have, which isn't much. It's just our body weight. Like that's pretty much all you've got. You're not going to knock a guy out with one punch, but how do you protect your head so that you don't get knocked out? How do you try to create a little bit of leverage so that you can maybe break a bone or something, So there was a lot of interesting stuff in that session. But anyway, back to kind of the general premise of the event is that 750 or so women from all the chapters across the country meet up in Colorado for this 3-day training event. How
many San Diegans were there?
I took 18 girls from my chapter.
Wow.
So 18
Holy cow.
plus me. Yeah, 19 total.
That's awesome.
It was great. Going to try to be bigger next year because I think the biggest chapter, the chapter that took the most people this year had like 21. I'm like, we can beat them. So next year we'll be trying to take more. But we have, before conference starts, we have a couple of days of events leading up to it. So Tuesday is a leadership day. You can meet with your A team, which is like your local helpers in your chapter. So you meet with them, you meet with other facilitators, you make a plan for how to grow your chapter. And then from there, you've got an early bird lecture day on Wednesday, which is just like 8 hours of lectures from, top minds in science and, all sorts of things. We had situational awareness lectures. We had lectures about, the connection between your brain and your trigger finger and how to shoot better. So there's always such interesting stuff. And then Thursday every year is called Demo Day, and it comes with the cost of the conference, and you just get to go shoot a bunch of different guns. So we had Glock was there, Walther was there, HK was there. I'm forgetting a couple. We had a company that brought optics. We had a company that brought revolvers. I think that was Charter Arms. So yeah, you just kind of walk around and try all the, you get to demo all these different guns and products. There's a vendor city, a bunch of like tents set up where you can get information from CCW Safe and different insurance companies, and U.S. Law Shield was there. Ed Monk was there talking about active shooter response. There were, med kit companies, just anything you can think of, shooting glasses, Ear Pro, all that stuff. So it's a really, really fun event. I look forward to it every year. And I take a few sessions and I teach a few sessions, and it's always such a fun weekend. Very motivated students.
So a Girl and Gun National Conference, if you want to go next year, you got to be a member of a Girl and Gun.
Yep.
And to be a member of a Girl and Gun, no matter where you are in the country, go to
girlandagun.org. If you are near a physical chapter, you can go on a girlandagun.org, go to find a chapter, and then select the city near you and sign up for that particular one. If you are not near a chapter, you can go to a girlandagun.org and then find our e-chapter, which is like the virtual chapter. Anyone in the country can join that one, and you get, drills, and you get Zoom calls and stuff that you can do with the folks that are also not close to a chapter. So there were a bunch of girls from the e-chapter at conference this year.
So you just flew in separately and then stayed at a hotel?
I stay in an Airbnb. Usually, most of the girls from San Diego will kind of plan out a few larger Airbnbs, and they'll, pick their roommates and stuff. And then the girls who aren't super, don't have friends from last year or whatever, they might get a block in a hotel or something and stay together. So we had probably 4 or 5 girls stay in a hotel, and most of the girls from the San Diego chapter stayed in Airbnbs.
That's cool. And then just meals. Some are provided, or some
are... so lunches are provided. Leadership Day has a dinner involved. So, just kind of depends on the day what you get with your ticket. Dinners are easy. Grand Junction's a big town. There's a lot of food options. There's grocery stores. The Airbnbs have kitchens. So a lot of the girls will cook breakfast at the Airbnb, go to the range for safety brief and classes, and then, we all go out to dinner together, or the houses will go out to dinner together. Saturday night every year we do a San Diego chapter dinner. We all wear our matching San Diego chapter shirts, and that's always a lot of fun. So
who had the most fun? What girl that went with you had the most fun?
Oh, man, that's so hard. I don't know. I'll give a shout out to Crystal Peters because she won an A-Team award, and she also she just was kicking butt all weekend. She got some patches in some classes for being, I don't know if it was like top shot or if it was just like best on a drill. I can't remember exactly what it was, but she was having a good time. She was smiling every time I saw her.
Crystal Peters, congratulations!
Yeah,
it sounds like a hoot.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
All right, well, sit back, relax, watch the show. We got some cool interviews for you, and thanks for watching Gun Owners Radio. Tell everybody all about gunownersradio.com.
When your rights are on the line and the fight gets real, you need a lawyer who knows the deal. From gun laws to courtrooms, he'll stand by you. John Dillon fights for the red, white, and blue. John Dillon defending your rights, keeping bare arms with truth and might. From GVROs to self-defense calls, Dillon Law Group, he fights for us all. When freedom's under fire, who you gonna call? Dillon Law Group, justice for all. DillonLawGP.com.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. We're here at Gun Prom 2026, and we have the best and brightest from Second Amendment Foundation. I got to tell you, you guys, Second Amendment Foundation is such a great organization. I think that it's been around for so long and it's done so much, and I really appreciate and respect the efforts you guys have put forth in the last couple of years to really spell out that history, and I think that's a great job. So before we go any further, why don't you guys introduce yourself and what you do for SAF?
I'm Adam Kraut. I'm the executive director.
Awesome.
And I'm Costas Moros, and I'm the Director of Legal Research and Education.
Fantastic. So what brought you, Adam, to SAF?
I left my prior place of employment, and when I left, I made a few phone calls, one of which was to Alan, just saying, hey, it's been nice working with you in this area. Having been in the nonprofit world for about 3 years, coming from private practice, doing firearms-related stuff, and went backpacking for 2 weeks, and I got a lot of phone calls and text messages about, what are you looking to do? So we ended up talking, and I told him ultimately, like, I either wanted to run an org or a business, and that's how I ended up here. I saw a lot of opportunity.
So how do you, for people that don't know, describe what does Second Amendment Foundation do? What does SAF do?
So our mission's real simple. It involves aggressive legal action and public education on the Second Amendment, its importance, why people should care, and why people should take steps to protect it. So it's real simple, and as you mentioned, it has a long history. It's been around for a little over 51 years at this point. And prior to coming to the org, back when I was in law school, I joined NRA as a life member, and I joined SAF as a life member. And back then, my kind of thought as to how the world was being on the outside was NRA did all the lobbying, or most of the lobbying, especially on Capitol Hill, and SAF was in the courtroom winning a lot of the legal battles. So it was, very attractive organization as far as what it's accomplished, for that matter.
By the way, I'm very appreciative. San Diego County gun owners, it was never part of the plan in the beginning to focus on or concentrate on lawsuits. It just wasn't. We were really more looking at roll up your sleeves, get in the trenches, activism, get people elected, raise money to do that. And we have been honored to be a part of a number of lawsuits, including lawsuits that we partner with SAF on.
Yeah.
And you guys are always so, if I have a question or a need, or I don't know what I'm doing and I need some advice, you guys are always super great about answering my phone calls and emails. Bill Sack, yourself, all you guys are really, really great. So,
well, and I got to give you compliments real quick. I learned about you guys several years ago, and as you said, like the whole rolling up your sleeves thing, listening to what San Diego County gun owners accomplished by that kind of grassroots, like we need to get people elected, we need to find the right candidates, we need to back them. You guys are making a difference, and I think that's a really good lesson for people in areas that they're unhappy with the politics. Like, it is doable, it just requires work and planning.
Amen. And I love partnering with everybody. That's one thing I really, really like. 10, 15 years ago when I was doing Second Amendment activism, it was like it was like everybody had their favorite Second Amendment org and everybody else was a jerk.
Yeah.
You know, it was like your favorite football team or your favorite WWE wrestler, and that just wasn't healthy. And I've seen in the last few years, especially with, I guess what I'd like to, I guess the way I'd describe it is the re-emergence of NRA. I've seen more cooperation than I've ever seen before. And when you do still see a few people, you know, well, I don't like this org, I'm all about that org, they seem so archaic now,
We're all working towards the same goal, ultimately. We just have different takes on how to get there. So there's a different flavor, if you will. But and I think that also has to do with like a younger generation coming in and seeing that cooperation is better in the sense of organizational resources. You know, for 3 orgs to bring the same lawsuit to fight over who the lead case is, and then people who are giving to those orgs having to make a decision, either I'm going to back one org entirely or I'm going to send $25 to each of them costing me 70. It just consolidation of resources to fight one battle versus fighting 3 on the same thing makes sense.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Well, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Staff's better than everybody.
That's why we have them.
Costas, now what is it you'd say you do here? What's your job at the
mostly I'm on
SAF?
Twitter, and I do a lot of the social media stuff for fun to keep people informed. But what I've done since coming on staff is I've written, Jesus, so many amicus briefs, probably too many. And we're also working on some law review articles now, and I help when Bill Sack needs help planning litigation, we do that. And who knows, maybe we'll also have some of our own internal lawsuits in the future. But we do all sorts of legal work with staff. We try and keep the public educated. We also have contacts in D.C., not so many in Sacramento for obvious reasons, but in D.C. to stay apprised of what's going on over there. So it's been a busy time, and hopefully we're going to make some breakthroughs here soon.
And you're a local San Diego guy. I mean, you don't live. You moved away, and we were talking before, and you regret it deeply. But you,
well, the
but
word
you're
called
local.
for it.
Yeah, but you're a local San Diego guy.
Yeah, I actually left originally because my prior job was with CRPA at Michelle & Associates, and that's why we moved. And my wife got a job up in LA as well, so that's why we moved. But San Diego is a much better city than LA.
I love San Diego passionately. Did you ever imagine that so much Second Amendment activity would flow through San Diego, as far as lawsuits and everything that's been going on?
It makes sense because for a couple of reasons. First of all, of the big cities in California, I won't say any are conservative, but San Diego is the more conservative one compared to LA and San Francisco, and there's a big traditional military presence, so it's not surprising. But what I think has changed in recent years is it wasn't as much of there wasn't as much going on, but in recent years they've really beaten us up as gun owners. That California's passing more and more laws, so whether we like it or not, people have been forced into activism. It's not a choice now. You have to, or we'll lose more and more ground here in California.
That's a fact. Let's talk about amicus briefs. So I don't think people fully understand. I didn't before I started, working with the different organizations on lawsuits. I didn't really understand, what an amicus brief. I understood vaguely what it was. It was basically saying, hey, here's our opinion. Here, look, court, I know you're trying to make a decision. Here's our take on the decision you're trying to make. But talk a little bit about what's the purpose? Do they do some good? Do they actually move the ball forward? Or why should people care about amicus briefs? Sure.
So amicus literally translates in Latin to friend of the court. So you're writing as a friend of the court to advise them of your clients, in this case, Second Amendment Foundation, and whoever joins the brief, of their position. And it's a good low cost way to tell the court your opinion, because remember, if you're going to file your own lawsuit, which SAF does, we have over 50 active lawsuits, but if you're going to file your own lawsuit, that's a very expensive proposition. If you're going to do an amicus brief, that's a lot cheaper. I can write it myself with some other attorneys, who help me revise it if they're joining it, and we get it filed, and the court sometimes will cite those briefs. I've been cited many times. The downside of an amicus brief, of course, is the court can just ignore it, and they have. If they don't, even if you make some great arguments, they don't have to address the amicus brief. So if it's inconvenient to them, they'll ignore you. So I've been cited in Van Dyke dissents a couple of times, but yes, it's a low cost way of telling the court your thoughts, and sometimes it makes a difference. It doesn't always, but it's worth trying.
I kind of have this image. I do think that first off, a judge has a staff, and I think that they collaborate and figure out, hey, here's the stance we're going to take on this, or this is our opinion. I think it's a lot more collaborative than maybe people think. I think that's fair to say. A judge has a staff for that reason.
They have law clerks, and the law clerks generally are in line with what the judge's position is on various issues anyway to start.
So I think it's fair to assume and to think, and like you've seen with them citing your briefs, I think they do at times take these amicus briefs and go, okay, I'm not sure where to go on this. I maybe philosophically kind of understand the direction I'm going to go, but the amicus brief really focuses it down. Okay, I like what this person had to say. That makes sense. That falls in line. Do you think that's fair to say about the amicus briefs, or you think judges are using it in that way?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you can also just cover topics that the parties can't get to. I'll give you an example. The Rhodey case just went en banc. I'm sure you know about the ammo background check case.
Sure.
And the parties, of course, focused all their briefs on the legal issues. Our amicus brief, about half of it was actually, so we did some legal discussion, but then the other half was like, okay, Your Honors, like, I know you're deciding this one issue, but let me give you some context here about what it's like buying a gun in California. And I walked them through the whole process, the roster, the safety certificate, if you want to carry, the permits, the sensitive places. So the point is to show them, like, there's a greater context here you should be aware of in deciding this case. And that's just one example. You know, that's the sort of thing you can educate a court on that the parties just don't have space to do in their briefs. So.
Yeah, so basically, if people hear about amicus briefs, if they say, hey, guys, we're trying to fund an amicus brief, it's important. It absolutely moves the ball forward. It's something that really can be a crucial part of the decision-making process for judges on every level, not just the Supreme Court. What's the hardest part about writing an amicus brief?
The hardest part about writing an amicus brief is that, again, they don't have to address you. So I have been cited before, but I've also made arguments where I get the opinion in the end, I'm like, my amicus brief rebutted all these dumb points you're making, and you didn't even cite it, you didn't mention it. So that's the hardest part, is they don't have to listen. They can just ignore you. Whereas when it's a party, they can't ignore the party's arguments. The judges will generally address the arguments the actual parties raised in the case. But in terms of preparing it, I guess the other hardest part is you kind of have to get up to speed on a case real quick, on a case you might not have touched before. So you have to review the file, make sure you're getting the facts straight, make sure you're not unintentionally saying something that hurts the side you're supporting. And that's just a matter of making sure you've gone through the record and familiarized yourself with the case.
How many times have you been in a situation where you feel like you're not quite safe, but drawing your gun and having it in your hand is not a reasonable solution to your problem? That's why I carry palm pepper spray. It's so discreet you can carry it in your hand no matter where you are, and no one will give you a second look. It's also proven to be effective against lots and lots of different types of threats, including things like dogs. Not all of us think about what we would need to use pepper spray against, but I don't want to get my hands in the middle of a dog fight, and I don't think you do either. Palm pepper spray, versatile, small to carry, easy to conceal, and effective. Carry palm.
I've definitely learned about lawsuits that it is enormously complex and it's frustrating. I think people think that you can just show up and say, hey, Second Amendment, and boom, one lawsuit's going to solve all our problems, when they're so enormously focused, and ethics is such an important part, should be an important part of how judges, rule. I think maybe the best case or best example of that was the open carry case here in California. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
I just did a brief on that.
So it was Van Dyke that wrote the decision, right? And everybody's like, hey, he's as pro-Second Amendment as they get. And he didn't rule, he had to rule on the case. He had to say, yeah, you got to issue these permits. And the open carry side said, wait, that's not, we wanted you to just wipe everything away. And it was really a lesson of, hey guys, we got to stay focused. It has to be, narrow and accurate. And what do you guys think? That's just an example. You don't have to comment on that open carry case, but what do you think is the most misunderstood part of lawsuits when it comes to people that are, paying attention to them, and Second Amendment advocates and gun owners?
Time and resources. Time is the biggest one. Everybody, what's taking so long? The courts, their dockets, first of all, it's not the only thing on their docket. They have everything from all kinds of civil-related things to criminal stuff at the district court. And there's no time frame surrounding when a court has to issue a decision or address it. And some judges just seemingly put off the Second Amendment stuff and they just sit there. An example I'll give you, kind of was speedy through the trial court process, but our assault weapons ban case coming out of Maryland back when it was Bianchi and then it became Snope went all the way up to the Supreme Court on a cert petition. They had Bruen, so they held it while they were deciding Bruen. They GVR'd it, so they granted the petition, they vacated the Fourth Circuit, remanded it back down. It sat at the appellate court for, I think it was 13 months after it had been briefed and argued. And then the Fourth Circuit, rather than issuing a decision, said, we're going to do this en banc, which means as a whole. So rather than 3-judge panel, you have the court as, it depends on the circuit, but a lot more judges sitting there, and an en banc opinion, if you get one of those, weighs more than what a panel decision would. And it sat there for a number of more months. I think it was about 16 to 17 months before you got a decision on that. So you're almost at, a year and a half before you got a decision out of the appellate court. And unfortunately, during this entire time a case sits there, whether it's the trial court, the appellate court, or waiting on cert for the Supreme Court, people's rights are hanging in the balance there and often being infringed. So I think that's one of the biggest things where people are, oh, you filed a lawsuit, why won't it move faster? Like, there's nothing that motivates the judge to move it.
Yeah, there's nothing that compels them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it could sit there for forever.
Motion to do something is what we joke about.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Boland and Renna. Boland and Renna are preliminary injunction, the handgun roster cases here in California. Those went up to oral argument in August 2023, and we're still waiting on a ruling on a preliminary injunction. It's been 2.5 years, so it's crazy.
Do you think, now I think a lot of people go, well, judges on the Ninth Circuit, they don't want them to move. They don't want these gun cases to move. They're stalling on purpose. Do you think there's some of that going on, or do you think that, hey, this is just how long an iceberg takes to move? I mean, you know what I mean? Or do you think that there is some stall tactics and games played like people assume there are from anti-gun judges?
I will never, ever miss a chance to hate on the Ninth Circuit. I think there's a lot of corruption on that court, legitimately, and I probably shouldn't say that as an attorney, but I have a deep disdain for a lot of that court and what it's done. However, I can't say that their speed is unusual compared to, I think courts are just slow. And people need to understand that Second Amendment Foundation and others are happy to litigate these cases, but litigation should always be the last resort because it is the slowest option. The best resort is to, win elections, or if you don't win, pressure the politicians you do have to not pass laws or pass good laws, because once you're at litigation, your fate to some extent is out of your control. It's in the hands of the judges and the court politics and whether the Supreme Court has an appetite to take a case or not. So we'll still be there. We're the last line of defense and we'll always be there. But if you can find other ways so we don't always have to resort to litigation, that'd be ideal.
Well, it's a crapshoot too. Like if you go wrong, if things go wrong in court, it could be forever.
Yeah, I'll disagree slightly. I mean, there's some things coming out about the Supreme Court as far as the redistricting. I think it was Kagan. She kind of held her dissent and didn't file it. And the thing that's being talked about is, was she holding on to it long enough so that when it finally got filed, they wouldn't have time to deal with it prior to this election cycle when they had already redistricted everything. So I'm not going to say that 100, I don't know, but that's kind of what's out there right now as to a thought and a theory. So it's possible that judges do stuff like that.
Well, we actually just talked about that on the show. It was Kagan who, it was the abortion case that came out right after the Bruen case. And there was a book written about Alito, and apparently they did slow it down because they were trying to pressure judges because they knew the outcome of the case. So, I mean, it's not just us. It's not just like,
Sure.
conspiracy theorists. It's, there are books being written on it. In fact, one of the judges of the Ninth Circuit really criticized some of the other judges and said, hey, the way you guys are handling these Second Amendment cases.
Oh, Judge Van Dyke.
It was Van Dyke.
Several times, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't think Van Dyke, I agree with everything Adam said. I'm not saying it never happens, but Van Dyke's criticism has been ideological, not so much that they're slow walking it. In fact, in Duncan, his criticism was, why did you guys skip the panel and just take this back en banc? Actually, it's probably a good thing they took it en banc right away in hindsight because it moved it up faster, Yeah. So now it's at the Supreme Court again, and we'll see what ends up happening with that case. But
what do you think's going to happen? Let's talk about some specific cases.
Sure.
Because I get these questions all the time, and it's like, I tell people it's kind of it's a choose your own adventure book,
Let's get our crystal ball.
Yeah.
We don't know.
But I mean, and it could go any different way. But what is the status of Duncan? And because Duncan's holding up a bunch of other cases, right?
Right, and I want to clarify, Duncan is that case is close to my heart because I worked on it in my past job. But but SAF has plenty of hard work cases too, including Viramontes that's up there. And right now, Duncan, Viramontes, and a couple others, another SAF case out of New England, I forget where, I think Connecticut, are held up. Grant. are held up at the Supreme Court, and they've been relisted now 14, 15 times. I think it's Viramontes and Duncan. So if they get granted now, they'll actually break the record for most relists before a grant. Masterpiece Cape Shop had 14.
All right, congratulations.
If they get granted. So it could just be another denial and dissent. But what's different this time is they are holding 5 hardware cases. So I'd like to think that they're about to do something, whether it's a grant or a per curiam opinion. If it ends up just being another denial and dissent, that'll be a huge letdown, but that's always a possibility, unfortunately.
Because we're waiting on a number of things. We're waiting on lawsuits to end the magazine ban, to end the ammo background check, to end the assault weapons ban, to end what happened with SB2, all the, making everything a sensitive place. There's a lot of lawsuits out there. Can you guys give us a breakdown? Maybe let's start in California and then let's work broadly. What is it looking like in California? Give us the lay of the land.
Do you want me to say California, you do broadly?
Sure.
Okay. So in California, one of them is going to be held up. SB2, the sensitive places case, is waiting for the Wolford ruling, which should be out in the next month or two, because we've stayed that case pending Wolford, just in case the Supreme Court gives us some more guidance. They're only deciding the so-called vampire rule, but they might give us some more guidance on sensitive places. So that case will resume in the district court once Wolford's issued.
But there's a big chance that even after that decision, we still might have to go further.
Oh,
yeah. It's not a silver bullet.
It's a certainty because Wolford only deals with the so-called vampire rule, where you have to ask permission before you can enter into private properties. And it's possible the Supreme Court could go broad and give us some broad rule, but they won't. They almost certainly will keep it narrow. And so we'll have to litigate the sensitive places one by one in the district court, because remember, before was just the preliminary injunction.
Wolford, by the way, Alan Beck, another San Diego attorney.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And so next,
I just had to give him a shout out.
The handgun roster. Yeah, Alan Beck's awesome. The handgun roster case, that's the one I mentioned earlier, has been stuck for 2.5 years now on a preliminary injunction. We have gotten some relief because with our lawsuit in Rena and the CRPA lawsuit in Boland, we got microstamping enjoined and then they repealed it for now. So
which is huge.
Yeah, and it's allowed some new guns on the roster, which has been great because our market here was frozen for a decade.
So what do you hope with the roster? Do you think, I'm skeptical that the roster will completely disappear. I think the best we can hope for is that there will be some sort of process, some sort of roster, but at least it'll be attainable. Where right now it's just simply, it's barely attainable. You know what I mean? Do you think that the roster will completely disappear?
No. So I don't think the roster will completely disappear because there's certain things on it, like the drop safety test, the firing test, which probably you could argue do have some historical support, not much. But what we're trying to knock out is we already knocked out microstamping for now. They're going to try and bring it back, but is the chamber load indicator and the magazine disconnect. But since microstamping's been gone, this is a good thing and a bad thing. So a bunch of new handguns have come onto the roster, and that's great for Californians, including myself. The bad news is these judges have been sitting on it for 2.5 years, and now they can say, well, see, this is pretty feasible. Look at all these companies that have made it happen. Maybe microstamping was a problem, but clearly they can do these other things. So that's the flip side of it. Maybe we'll get a ruling saying that whatever problems there were with microstamping, these other requirements are acceptable. We'll have to see.
But the hope is that there will be a process in place, but the hope is that we'll be able to get all the same guns that the other 49 states can get. It's just that there's still a little bit more work to do.
Yeah, and that's why we hope to defeat the two requirements, because if magazine disconnects and chamber load indicators are going to continue to be required, then California will continue to be what I call the greatest hit handgun. We'll get, your basic PDP or your basic P320 or whatever it is, but we'll never get the more niche stuff, the cool stuff, because they're only going to make one California model, maybe two, and leave it at that.
So while we're on that, how do you feel the Glock situation is going to?
Oh, well, that's a whole different mess.
It is different.
Yeah.
It's a whole different mess. But what can you say about it?
It's good. We're waiting to see what Glock does, because in theory, they could make a new model for here that blocks that, because the way AB 1127 is written is it allows leeway. It's not just the cruciform trigger bar. It's a cruciform trigger bar that cannot be converted with common household tools to accept a machine gun conversion device, I think is the term they use. So We'll have to see how that ends up playing out. But for now, we're waiting to see what Glock does. Unfortunately, that's spreading to other states, as you've seen. Connecticut just passed it, Maryland. So this is a common thing with California. We pass it, and then other states copy us. So.
Okay, so that's pistols. Let's go on to assault weapons. The assault weapons ban in California is as bad as it gets. What are your thoughts on that? We've gotten 2 positive rulings, and my understanding is Judge St. Benitez is retiring.
Yes, he did retire.
He did retire? So what's the future of the assault weapons ban?
Well, right now we're waiting on the Ninth Circuit ruling. There's a 3-judge panel that's hearing the case. Not particularly confident, well, that's a SAF case as well, but we're not particularly confident because of how Duncan went. They're going to pretty much cite Duncan and say, well, you can ban these for the same reason. I hope I'm wrong about that. So really what assault weapons and magazines, the status of them right now in the Ninth Circuit is probably not great unless the Supreme Court finally does its job for us.
So the Supreme Court's going to have to take an assault weapons
otherwise
case.
it's going to be tough for us to ever make progress on that here.
Okay, all right. And we talked a little bit about sensitive places. There's still a few steps on that. So what have we talked about? Magazine. I think magazine is going to go our way. Magazine limitations is going to go our way. It's just what's the pro? Do you think Duncan's going to win it, or do you think it's going to be similar to the assault weapons case where we got to get something out of the Supreme Court?
It's only going to go our way if the Supreme Court grants cert or other grants cert on another case and reverses Duncan in effect. Because for now, Duncan's the law in California and in the Ninth Circuit until the Supreme Court says otherwise, and if they say otherwise. So that's what we're waiting on. And that's why SAF has so many hardware cases pending as well. Not just the ones at the Supreme Court. We have cases that are moving up throughout the country. We have a 7th Circuit case, a 3rd Circuit case, which might finally create a circuit split. But I'll let Adam speak to some of those, so I'm not monopolizing.
Okay, let's go. Actually, so is anything else we should know about California or the 9th Circuit?
The last thing I would say is SAF also has, on the carry issue, we have a new lawsuit against Santa Clara because they charged $2,000 for carry permits. So that's the other strategy we've seen. We got LA to back down on their 2-year wait times. We got to settle. We're working on a settlement there, and the DOJ sued them as well. But high fees, long wait times are the other front in this battle.
$2,000.
Yeah, that's the highest
insane.
in the country. Yeah.
We actually, I just worked with the Sheriff's Department in San Diego, who we love our sheriff. She's doing a great job. They were getting pressure to increase their fees significantly, and she's pushing back. We sat down and talked about it. They did a study a few years ago and decided that these permits cost $1,250 per person to issue, which is total malarkey, So I'm assuming they probably did a similar study, and some bean counter said, "Oh, it's cost us $2,000 a person," and unfortunately, they just didn't have the people in the right places to stop it. So
yeah, it's Santa Clara. It's very different than San Diego. So yeah, but we're suing them, so we'll have to see how it plays out.
Good for you guys. Awesome job. Nationally, Adam, what are we looking at nationally? Give us the lay of the land.
Well, there's all kinds of stuff. I think the way I usually like to describe it is there's kind of I like to start with a little bit of history and go from there. So when you look at what the Supreme Court has done, if we say Heller's the start of Second Amendment stuff, and there are some cases, Miller in the 30s, and you get some other decisions that touch on it, but really Heller's the first, it's the seminal case on Second Amendment stuff. It says individual right, untethered to militia service, right to keep in the home. It talks about bear, too, for that matter. You get McDonald 2 years later, which was a SAF case, and that incorporated the Second Amendment against the states. You get Catano in 16, says stun guns are protected arms, that they're, it didn't have to exist at the time of the founding. You get Bruen in 2022, that talks way more about carry, and it reaffirms the tests that courts are supposed to apply, and that was came out of Heller, that the lower courts screwed up for all the time between Heller and Bruen. So you have individual right, untethered to militia service, keep in your home, weapons that aren't in existence at the time of the founding, incorporated against the states, and then carry and the test. You see the Supreme Court takes Rahimi, which deals with a prohibited person. I think their hand was forced on that. This term they took Hermani, which is another prohibited person case, individual that was arrested with a firearm, marijuana, and cocaine, and Wolford, which deals with what Costas was talking about earlier. So when you look at kind of where we are, we have a couple buckets that we're currently litigating. The what So what does the Second Amendment protect? The types of arms. So hardware cases like assault weapons bans, magazine capacity, roster-related issues. You get the who. There's some prohibited persons cases. 18 to 20 is a big one. And then you get the where, sensitive places. So when we look at what the Supreme Court's already decided and where we are in Second Amendment jurisprudence, which is really a short period of time, if we're saying Heller's the start, less than 20 years. And when you compare to like the First Amendment, you have over 100 years of decisions in that. It would make sense for the Supreme Court to next take something like, well, these are the types of protected arms, or this is where you can carry. And I think the carry one we saw with Wolford, obviously, but I think it makes sense for them to expand on carry more. They really do need to address the types of arms that are protected. And the who's a big one, too. 18 to 20, California is an offender in that, banning 18 to 20-year-olds from not just purchase, possession, carry. Pennsylvania has some carry issues with it. There's a number of other states that we've either sued for carry or possession-related issues. And then when you look at the country as a whole, as Costas was saying, we have, I think there's 6 current assault weapons ban challenges right now. That's dwindled down since the Supreme Court denied cert. I think there are 7 or 8 magazine capacity challenges we have that are active. We have a number of 18 to 20 related ones. We have a bunch of carry ones all over the place. I think those are kind of the big issues that are headed towards the court right now, in addition to all the various other issues that we're currently litigating that maybe aren't like the big flashy ones, but still impact Second Amendment rights in perhaps a more discrete manner to a certain subset of the population versus larger swath of them.
So the sensitive areas, it feels like the direction that is going to go is that there's Second Amendment folks, SAF and partners, are going to force a definition of sensitive areas. In other words, California came out and said, okay, we're just going to call every place a sensitive area.
A lot of states did
and
that.
We're going, wait. What makes it a sensitive area? Is it what's behind the sensitive area? Is it the way you protect the sensitive area?
We have to give you permits now, so.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So is that, I mean, what is that what you think, is that the direction we're going with sensitive areas? Or they're going to force you guys got to, it has to really truly be a sensitive area?
That's the idea, and the argument that's been kind of put forth is that the idea behind sensitive places is that they're, depends where you go with this, and I'll let Costas weigh in a second, but a sensitive place being like there's an essential government function occurring, and that place had some kind of security that you can tie into historically. So like Congress as an example, being one of those, or like the White House and courts, they've always had security. Various state houses, it's different, right? In Pennsylvania, I'll use the example, our General Assembly, you can't bring a firearm into the legislative building, the Capitol building. And the reason for that isn't because that the legislature meets there, it's because the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania is in there. So the states vary from that, but that's kind of where it is. And when you have they're saying a parking lot that's attached to a facility that has a post office in it. The parking lot I can get robbed in just as, what's the essential government function that's occurring when I park my vehicle and get out? Or a restaurant that serves alcohol, this part of it serves alcohol, so you can't carry there, but you can sit with your family 30 feet, the other direction and do it, or a theme park or whatever. The theme park can regulate its property however it wants. It's the beauty of private property rights, and of course you don't have to do business with them, but for the government to say that you can't carry a firearm there is just no context as far as the historical nature.
It's truly unreasonable. We've been compromising since the 30s, we being gun owners, and we've been painted as, hey, we won't even accept reasonable gun laws. Well, a complete ban on where you can carry, or a ban on a place where you can carry, and it makes no sense that there's a ban. That's not a reasonable gun law. We've been the ones compromising from day one.
I'm not even sure it's compromising, just being forced to do the thing. And I think what a lot of you want to go back.
You're right. We've been forced to compromise, I guess, which isn't really compromising.
Yeah, and you want to go back to the question you asked a while ago. What's one of the most misunderstood things about the litigation? I think there's 2. One being that these restrictions and infringements didn't just happen overnight. They were piecemeal, a little bit here, a little bit there, and progressive. Likewise, regaining those is going to be piecemeal and progressive. So anybody who's sitting there thinking today you're going to bring a lawsuit and get machine guns and all these other things right off the bat when We don't even have a court decision that says, semi-automatic centerfire rifles are protected arms. You're missing the picture here. And I think the other thing that people get very frustrated about is that, well, as you said earlier, Second Amendment, slam your fist on the table. Well, that's great, and I know what the Constitution says, but when you look at how the court has interpreted that, it doesn't mean that it's just a free-for-all. Same with any other right. The court's repeatedly said, they're not unlimited. And so I think that those are probably two of the areas where people misunderstand things the most.
Any thoughts, Costas?
Yeah, sensitive places right now, it's kind of funny to read some of these lower court rulings because they go for the vaguest possible things. Oh, this place is sometimes crowded. This place sometimes has children there. Stuff like that, which even for places that existed in the past, like the bars and places that serve alcohol is a great example. You can't carry now in California at Olive Garden, even if you're not drinking, because they happen to serve beer and wine for consumption on the premises, even if you're not ordering that. And that has no historical precedent. There were pubs at the founding, there were bars, and they didn't ban drink. They didn't ban carry.
Everybody had guns.
Yeah, everyone had guns. And what they point to is some random territorial law from Arizona, and maybe New Orleans banned guns in ballrooms, and they're like, oh, that's enough, and it's not. But they'll always be able to find some crazy outlier that's not representative and point to that, and that really comes down to the Supreme Court needing to crack down on it. What else I'll say about sensitive places, and we've argued this in our briefs, is that not only do they not meet the Bruen test because they're historically baseless, they're also bad as policy because California requires everyone, and so do a couple other states, to actually get permits. There's no constitutional carry here. And we have data that we've shown to DOJ saying that these people almost never commit crime. We looked at 5 or 6 different states, and the DOJ didn't even try to rebut that argument. They conceded it, as they did in our Third Circuit case, also on carry, that's pending. Coons, yeah. And so both courts concluded that, and the government hasn't even tried to rebut it. So they're basically trying to ban carry, which is not only unconstitutional, but it's also baseless in policy. Even if you ignore the Second Amendment, there's no reason to do this because people with carry permits never commit crime, and people without carry permits who are carrying illegally don't care about the law anyways. So it's a fundamentally unserious policy, and so you're left to conclude that the only reason they do it, even though they know this, is because they don't like us. It's an attack on gun culture.
It really truly does boil down to an irrational fear and hatred of guns. I mean, it really truly does. Did Rahimi hurt us?
No.
I don't think so.
No?
That's an overstated one, I think. I don't think it did.
Yeah, I mean, I think the court was pretty clear that, a finding of dangerousness and how they tethered it to history in the country, and that it's a temporary deprivation on that. Now, I know currently we have laws that, once you're prohibited, you're prohibited. The return of federal firearms relief, hopefully soon, will be an avenue for nonviolent misdemeanors. But from the historical data or history that was cited, somebody who was considered a danger by a finding of a judicial body was deprived of their right to bear arms.
Do you think? I felt like the decision. Because it was like 9 decisions, or I don't know, what was it, 6 or 7 of them actually took the time.
The court's opinion and then all the concurrences.
Yeah.
Concurrences and dissents.
It was like a peek into everyone's philosophy on Bruen. And do you guys feel that any of those peaks, are you worried going forward on gun cases for the Supreme Court? Like, did you read any of the opinions and go, geez, maybe this justice isn't as solid on Second Amendment as we thought? Or were you encouraged?
Well, we know where Thomas is.
No, I'm not worried because I know people look at Rahimi as like, oh, it watered down Bruen. But in my opinion, I read Rahimi as like, no, this is what the court always thought. Maybe Thomas had a different opinion of what Bruen means, but there was no way John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett and these more moderate conservatives were ever going to take this maximalist Bruen position that Thomas has advocated. So I guess maybe I don't see Rahimi as that damaging because I never thought the court was going in a different way. And yes, I see people complain because you'll have Ninth Circuit judges or Fourth Circuit or Second Circuit cite the parts of Rahimi like, oh, it's the law is not trapped in amber, so we can do whatever we want. Yeah, I get that, but those judges weren't on our side anyways. They would have found an excuse to rule against us. So I don't think you should, worry too much about Rahimi based on what judges who don't like us say, because we never had them anyway.
I think it was clarifying.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with Supreme Court decisions is dicta and footnotes.
Yes.
Because lower court judges love to point at things that are like not the main point.
Yeah.
Like the main point's over here, and they're like, oh, well, this little thing here, I can use that to support my decision if I just put that site right after it that came out of Bruen or Heller or McDonald or whatever Supreme Court decision. It's cool, man. And it is cool until the Supreme Court weighs back in, unfortunately for us.
A lot of you took our off-grid communications class in El Cajon, and the feedback we got is that you wanted more than just the gear. You wanted to know how to use the gear when it matters. So here's what we did. We built the next step: tactical communication and signal intelligence. That's the evolution of the course that you took. On May 30th in El Cajon at Cargo, which is a fantastic shop if you haven't already been there. So because most people rely on information that's either late or filtered, if that's you, you're already behind. We'll show you how to use off-grid radios and real-world signals that understand what's happening in real time, so you're not guessing or waiting on someone else. The bottom line is this is about having an information advantage. So spots are limited. You want to take this class, Tactical Communications and Signal Intelligence, on May 30th in El Cajon at Cargo. Go to gunownersradio.com so that you can secure your slot right now.
So it definitely feels like a lot of people, we have a lot of people who are against us, and even some of our friends aren't as with us as we wish they were. What do you guys, like, how do you guys stay motivated? What motivates you guys to continue doing this?
I live in California, so I have to. That's why I didn't move. It keeps me motivated.
Truly.
I think it has to do with the idea and premise of what our country is and rights that we're very fortunate as Americans to have as a whole. And I understand that you could argue like certain parts of the country don't have the same amount of the right as others. But I think at level, America has a great model. It's not perfect, but it's probably the best damn one we've seen in the history of the world. And for that to continue for as long as it has, it's okay for people to have differing opinions and things. Like, that's what makes America great. But there are certain baselines that just, that's it. Like, you know, the line is that, you know, this debate was had back in the founding of the country, and that takes certain policy decisions off the table. If lawmakers don't like it, they have the same right everyone else does. Go amend the Constitution. The founders put a provision in there so that it can change. It's a living document in that sense. It's not a living document in that we get to reinterpret things on the fly just because we don't like where they are now. And I think for me, that's one of the biggest motivators is, you know, preserving this ability for people to continue to carry forward for any number of reasons, whether it's contemporary history or history that's further back. Like, all it takes is one dictator to ruin it for everybody and murder a lot of people and put people in very bad positions.
I truly agree. I really am passionate about the United States, and the experiment is we're the country of the self-governed. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we would be here without gun ownership. And, I don't look at these as a hobby or a toy. You know, this is the reason we are who we are.
It's a doomsday provision.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even on an everyday basis, though, too, you know, your ability to walk out the door. It really became clear to me when we did get CCWs in San Diego, and I started giving seminars on how to get your CCW in San Diego. A lot of women came up to me after the seminars and said, hey, I'm being stalked. I'm being threatened. How do I get my permit? And it became clear to me that as romantic as the notion is that, hey, we're going to fight against, an invader or something like that, growing up watching Red Dawn, here's a woman, here's a person who can now leave her house because of gun ownership. Absolutely. And I think that part is endlessly motivating, whenever things get frustrating or ridiculous, endlessly motivating that, hey, people have a better life because they can defend themselves. Mm-hmm. So, what's the most important, what are you looking forward to most when the Second Amendment universe over the next, let's say, 5 years?
I'm really hopeful, especially in a 5-year time frame, that the Supreme Court will finally do its job, strike down some of these ridiculous assault weapons bans in some of these ridiculous sensitive places, and that will be an expansion of liberty to a lot of these states where, like California here, where we've just been like having the free edition of the Second Amendment for the last several years while everyone else is on premium. Yeah, we have the ad-supported version. And so that'll be huge. Of course, I'm sure there'll be more fights to come. As soon as we get that decision, then California will say, okay, but now you have to license and a training course, and that's all coming too, but I'll take it.
The fight's never end.
Yeah, so it's eternal vigilance, right? But I am hopeful that we will finally make that breakthrough. I hope it's this next coming year, but if it's not, certainly within the next 5 years that we'll
I'm looking for. I got to tell you, I love the amount of organization that is happening. I'm really proud. The Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. They're having their first regional conference in New England, just outside of Boston, and I'm going to that in a few weeks.
It's exciting.
GRPC, NRA's new annual meeting, SHOT Show, all these things. Everything I'm excited about that. I think the amount of organization, the amount of information that we're getting out there, we're all able to talk to each other. I'm really excited about that. Can you explain to people what is, and John Petrolino did a great article on this, but what's the relationship between Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms and SAF?
Sister organization. It's the relationship.
Okay.
Yeah. They're the C4. So the difference being that C4s can more freely engage in grassroots lobbying and direct lobbying. We're a 501c3, so any donations to SAF are tax deductible donations, and then there are a lot of restrictions if we were to enter into lobbying or grassroots lobbying. IRS has this real messed up test that like less than 20% of your overall spend can be done on lobbying, and then it's like 25% of the 20% can do grassroots, and it's tiered, so you hit $100,000 and then it lowers. It's for mathematicians, not lawyers.
Right. So I was really impressed with GRPC, Gun Rights Policy Conference, and you guys have been doing that for
41 years.
41 years? I love it. That's kind of my... that's my conference. SHOT Show is great, NRA is great. Their annual is great, but GRPC, I like it. That's my jam.
Yeah.
So I've decided I'm going every year, and I'm trying to bring as many people as I can. What's the purpose of GRPC? What are you guys looking to accomplish?
So the idea behind it is to gather the community. I mean, it's evolved over time. Originally, it was to get kind of I hate this phrase, but I'm going to use it, the movers and shakers, but the people that were involved in the activism part or the litigation part together so that they could talk about, hey, what's working for them, challenges they're facing, come up with solutions, and then go home and apply all that.
Yeah.
It's expanded from there where the general public is coming in to learn about what's being done on their behalf on any number of various issues. So whether it's learning about a particular area of litigation, or hearing from whether it's a congressman or a state legislature, to people who are involved in groups like San Diego County Gun Owners and what you guys are doing on the ground, and lessons that you've learned that you can tell the room so that they can take that home and go and apply it in their state. So whether it's working with the opposition to kill bills or make them less bad, or this is how you can advance legislation in your state, things like that. And then of course the community and the networking part is where during the breaks and at the receptions you can meet the various people that you might have just seen on the internet, and you're like, wow, that's I really want to meet that person like Costas.
Yeah, when I went, I was super jealous at how well organized you guys were. I mean, it was really
I'm glad
great.
it appeared that way.
Yeah.
I was going to make a joke.
It was. The flow was great. Everything was so easy. It was one of those. I kept getting feedback. Oh, you got to go to GRPC, and I kept going. Next year. And then you guys put it in my backyard in San Diego. I think that was like a big. I think you guys basically took my arm behind my back and it's like here. But I regret not going for so many years. I've gone twice now, San Diego and Utah, and then this year it's Dallas. I just love it. I think it's great. And the thing I love about it is it's super, super useful. So if I think people that are really truly passionate about doing the work, doing the activism. I think this is the conference.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk? It's in Dallas. Do you want to promote it at all? Or?
Sure. I mean, if you want me to, it's in Dallas.
It'd be funny if you were just like, no, move on.
Don't go.
Yeah.
SAF.org/GRPC. I think it's September 26th through the 27th, 28th, something like that. It's whatever that weekend is. Friday night's a reception for people out of town. The main event starts let me walk that back real quick because I'm doing Costas a disservice here. On Friday, in addition to the reception in the evening, there's 3 events that are occurring this year. You have AmCon, which is the Alternative Mass Media Conference, which is for people that are doing things like this. Podcasters, bloggers, where they can come teach each other, network, learn things. We're also doing something a little different this year. We did break out a room for state groups to get together so that they can have a little bit more of an intimate session where some of the things that might not make sense to disclose, or not disclose, but talk about with the general public where people might get lost or not care as much, they're going to have the opportunity to kind of sit down with one another and teach each other more in depth about things they're doing and have that networking. And then we're also having a legal scholars conference again this year, which is something that's occurred on and off since the 70s. It's not been an annual thing. This year we did get it, Costas did get it accredited as a CLE in Texas. We're going to work to build that to get accreditation in other states for lawyers who attend.
Good call.
That one's going to be for lawyers so they can get their CLEs among other things. So that's Friday. Saturday is the main event. There's a reception in the evening, and then Sunday is a half day with more speakers, and everybody gets to go home after that.
Awesome. Pause. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
No, you're good.
That's a little cough I brought home from Houston. Okay. All right, cool. Costas, anything you want to say about GRPC?
GRPC is awesome. San Diego was my first one too because I wasn't with SAF yet, so that was really cool. And they gave me an award. They really were wooing me, I guess.
Yeah.
but it was a good time. And yes, it's very informative. It's very different than SHOT Show or the others because, like you said, you go and you see a series of speakers, and these are, everything from lawyers to activists. Sometimes you'll have gun industry people. Sometimes you'll have influencers. So I pay attention to the guest list this year. I think it'll be the best one yet. We'll have hopefully some, maybe even some people from Washington. We'll have to see if we get lucky on that front. GRPC is great for networking too as well. If you want to meet people in the field, not just the industry and not just the activists, but people actually making a difference, it's a great place to be.
Who's your favorite person in the Second Amendment world? And you can't say Jared Yanis.
That's a pointed question.
You got to say some.
I'm going to demur on that.
Who's somebody that you think everyone should be watching?
How? In what way?
I don't know. Online, they got their own podcast. They're writers. They're doing something cool. And then whoever you name, everyone else you don't like.
Well, then,
So
definitely Michael Schwartz.
Michael Schwartz is
All right. Think about it. What do you got, Costas?
So obviously
Anybody?
I'm going to say Adam because he hired me. No.
Yeah.
But outside of SAF, Alan Gottlieb, of course, everyone great at SAF, Lauren, who does a lot of great work. I really, as a Californian, I'm a fan of my old client, Reno May, because he keeps people informed on very particular to California issues, and I appreciate that. So I always plug Reno.
What a unique podcaster that guy. I don't know if he's a YouTuber or a podcaster, whatever he is.
Either,
His show is extremely unique, the way he structures it and does it.
Yeah.
And I know he's very well respected and appreciated.
Yeah, and a lot of other guys too. I don't want to, again, now I feel like I'm slighting others. Washington Gun Law, who I do shows with, Guns and Gadgets.
Too late. You already said
Copper
Reno.
Jacket TV.
Everyone's already mad at you. You've already
all
made
those guys.
Anybody you want to give
This
a
is
shout
why
out
I'm
to?
demurring.
Yeah,
No, I'm not.
You're going to forget someone
I'm not
inevitably.
dipping my toe in this pool.
So let's go less controversial. Let's talk about the DOJ changes.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on? So Pam Bondi's out. They have a new temporary in. We're not sure if that's going to be the main
DAG.
guy.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on what's going on with the DOJ?
So I think
That's the federal DOJ, by the way.
Yeah. So I think this is by far and away the most pro Second Amendment administration. I think people's biggest complaint is it doesn't go far enough, so then they perceive that as anti-Second Amendment. Of course, the DOJ has taken some stances that we completely disagree with, but you also have to remember that they have a duty to defend the laws of the United States.
So stop right there. I think that's an important point to make. And I think what you're referring to is they did a lot of pro-Second Amendment things, but then they defended the existence of the NFA. And I think what you're saying, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I've tried to explain it, and you're probably going to do it a lot more eloquently than I. They have an ethical duty. They have to go defend this, no matter what their thoughts are on it. And attorneys, as you guys know, are both. You guys are taught to make arguments, whether you agree with them or disagree with them. You're taught to make arguments so that you can defend your client. So they're compelled to do things that maybe the administration doesn't even agree with, but they have to do it as the attorney for the client.
More or less. I mean, I think you could take a different look at it and remove, just jumping to a different topic real quick, like prosecutorial discretion. Well, if somebody violates the law and they can be charged with X, they should be charged with X. When you get into this game of like, well, I'm going to enforce these things or take this position on these, but this I personally disagree with, so I'm not going to go do the thing over here. You're not really doing what your job is and what the duty of the office requires. Again, it doesn't mean you have to like it or that you believe it, but their job is to defend the laws of the United States at the Department of Justice, whether we like it or not. So I think, that's created on the internet a lot of buzz and hate and anger. But the reality is if you look at the changes that they have made and things that they've done, like the Civil Rights Division suing LA, like the Civil Rights Division bringing lawsuits against Colorado for its assault weapons ban and magazine capacity ban, like reanimating federal firearms relief determinations, this whole slew of regulations that were just released the other week by ATF, like by far and away, point to another administration that's done anything remotely close to defending the Second Amendment or walking back some of these things. Nobody can. Is it perfect? No, I don't think it is. Does it go as far as I would like? No, it doesn't. But the reality is that like it's pretty damn good.
And a lot of people, a lot of that is Harmeet Dillon, from my understanding. But what do we have any idea what the new Attorney General? Are we excited about him, or we think there's going to be somebody else, or any thoughts on that?
I don't know who the new Attorney General is going to be. I mean, currently the Deputy Attorney General is running the show. My understanding from a brief conversation is he is a gun person. The new director at ATF, I had a chance to sit down with him for about an hour and a half at NRA's annual meeting. He's a gun guy as well. The reality is, though, like they also have a job to do. And that job does require taking some positions that we're probably not going to like, and we might end up suing them over.
And some major changes just came out from the DOJ that mainly
33 that were gun related.
33 that are gun related, and mainly they affect. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mainly they affect the relationship between the federal government and dealers. Would you say it that way or no?
A lot of them do, and even that's still important because it'll simplify business, simplify import, so it's still good for us. But there's also stuff that directly affects even Californians. So for example, one of them is going to clarify the Firearms Owner Protection Act's travel provisions. So right now, when you travel from one state to another and you're passing through an anti-gun state, you're only allowed, you can have a gun that's illegal in that state, but it has to be locked in your trunk, and you can't stop really anywhere, you can get in trouble. So what the change they're making on that one is, and this is just one example, is they're saying travel in the context of the Firearms Owner Protection Act includes stops incidental to travel. So a hotel stay overnight, you stop for gas, you get into an accident and have to go to the hospital. And I know this sounds crazy, but they've enforced this law against people. A famous case in New Jersey, the guy got stuck overnight and they arrested him because he collected his gun from the airport, even though it wasn't his choice. There was a delay or something.
It was a layover at the airport or something.
Right, so this ATF clarification now, this rule change, will make you protected in those sorts of circumstances. So while a lot of this stuff won't be of much use to us in California, it'll be real great for other stuff. There are a few things that will help even us here in this state.
And what are your thoughts on the Trump DOJ and the Second Amendment?
I agree with Adam. It's by far, there is no comparison. To find an administration that defended the Second Amendment ever, you'd pretty much have to go back to Reconstruction and look at the Freedmen's Bureau right after the Civil War. That's how far back you'd have to go.
That's you're way above my head at that point.
That's the Freedmen's Bureau would basically, among other things, they would look to protect the rights of newly freed black people who were former slaves. And one of the things southern states tried to do was disarm them. So part of what the Freedmen's Bureau did was protect the right to bear arms, the right to vote, the right to free speech, all those, and they actively protected it. So that's how far back. That's the last example we have of them. Before the LA lawsuit where they sued LA over wait times, which was something SAF was ahead of the game on, by the way, that was the first civil rights lawsuit ever on the Second Amendment, ever. So look at the Wolford case. Alan got a cert grant in this one because of his own hard work, but also because the DOJ filed an amicus brief and told the Supreme Court, hey, we want you to grant this case even though it's a preliminary injunction, which the Supreme Court doesn't normally like to do. So they've done a lot. There's things they disagree on, and they'll even acknowledge it. Harmeet Dillon gave an interview the other day where she acknowledged she personally disagrees with the NFA, but it is the law, and that comes from the Constitution, where it says the executive must see to it that the laws are faithfully executed. So what the position of the presidents of numerous administrations has always been, as long as we can make a serious argument, we're going to defend it. And that happened in the Biden years too. The Biden DOJ defended the Protection of Lawful Commerce and Arms Act, even though Biden hated that law. They still defended it because that's their job, So it shouldn't be shocking to anyone that they will usually defer to defending existing federal law. It's unfortunate, and we've sued them over it. We have a number of NFA lawsuits, but it is what you should expect from the federal government.
Okay, anything else that you want our listeners to know, anything we haven't touched on, or anything that there's some confusion on that you want to clarify?
Ooh, I'm sure there's a lot of things, but it's hard to.
We could be here till this event ends.
Yeah, we'll just have a party going in the background
really.
that we're ignoring. I don't know.
Particular message, definitely join SAF.
Oh, of course.
That'd be an important message. Go to GRPC. But also, I think for the first time in a long time, you have all these lawsuits. You have all these, things happening in the administration. You have things even kind of happening in Congress. For the first time in a long time, the light at the end of the tunnel isn't a train. It really, truly feels like we're going to see some, and we've already seen some significant positive changes, but it looks like in our lifetime, we're going to see big changes when it comes to Second Amendment. But
I think you already have.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality, going back again to what I said earlier about the Supreme Court, like the Supreme Court saying that it's an individual right.
Huge.
It's untethered to militia. Like, we already have. I think it's the management of what these leaps will be, the expectations surrounding what's going to happen next. And, I'll say this, I'll blame influencers for this, of putting this idea in people's heads that like all these things are unconstitutional and they should all go away with one lawsuit.
Right.
It's just not how it's going to happen, unfortunately.
No
matter how much we wish it was.
What's the impression? Last question. What's the impression of California outside of California these days, as far as gun owners and the gun world?
Suck. Yeah. Everybody hates California. I mean, you look at it. You look at any response on a forum or Facebook or wherever you're trolling around on the internet. It's like, leave California. Well, that's great. It's really easy to say when you don't live there and you don't have ties to it, family, job, whatever it is. The reality is that California has one of the most gun owners in the country, if not the most.
Yeah.
There's a very strong Second Amendment culture in California, and it's asinine to say that. Unfortunately, you guys are also a test bed for bad ideas that get exported. But the same thing happens on the East Coast: New York, Jersey, Maryland, Connecticut, like all of New England. Like, if they're not getting it from California, they're cooking it up on their own and they're sending it your way. So I think it depends. I think if you go and hang out on the internet, it's going to be Californians suck and like you guys should leave if you care about your rights. I think if you talk to people who are a little more rational in their thought process, it's, hey, like, we understand. And I said this when I spoke at the event a couple of years ago, like, defending Californians and Second Amendment rights in California is paramount, because if we can stop that nonsense here, it doesn't go anywhere else, and we help you guys regain your Second Amendment rights.
Yeah, people get mad at me on the internet because they say, like, hey, California sucks, gun laws suck, leave California.
Let me guess, they're from Texas.
Well, yeah, and I'm like, well,
which isn't all that great, by the way.
It's getting worse. Arizona's getting worse, and I tell them, like, hey, if you're passionate about your Second Amendment rights, come to California and help us fight. This is where the fight is.
I mean, Virginia just passed an assault weapons ban. Nowhere's safe. Like, yeah, California's the cutting edge of gun control, unfortunately.
We didn't touch on Virginia. I got to tell you, man, people keep talking about Virginia. I think part of the reason we didn't talk about Virginia, and I haven't talked about Virginia enough, is it just wasn't surprising to me.
No.
I knew it was coming. Yeah. The writing was on the wall. What are your thoughts on Virginia before we go?
What you just said, it's just it was the obvious next step when they became more and more of a blue state, that was what's going to happen. Minnesota's on the verge of collapse too. That's why it's important that the Supreme Court does something, like that they cut these states off at the pass. And these states will keep passing stuff, but at least let's draw some lines on what goes too far. And we really need the Supreme Court
What's
to do
the
that.
future, though? Is Virginia just going to have to slug their way out of this?
Get in line.
I mean, pretty much.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
like just get in line behind all these other lawsuits and hope that the Virginia lawsuits that are bound to happen, because we're going to file one, and so is a bunch of other people. Just pray that the court doesn't wait till that one to deal with the issue.
I just think that if you're living in any state and you see what happened in Virginia, how can you be, how can you be complacent? How can you just stand on the sidelines?
Well, I mean, you look at Pennsylvania, where I'm from. Like, I grew up in a county that, when I was a kid, was blood red, and over my lifetime, it went from red to lighter red to purple. Now it's blue. And you look at the composition of our state's General Assembly, and both bodies used to be super red, like the executives would be blue from time to, swap back and forth between Republicans and Democrats. And then the composition of that General Assembly has started to become blue, to the point now where it's only a couple of seats before we have a blue legislature and a blue executive branch.
And then you get your own assault weapons.
And then we get our own assault weapons ban.
And then, I mean, listen, I got to tell you, I used to push back on partisanship or, blue versus red, but in Virginia, they turned blue, and the first thing they did is all the bad stuff when it comes to guns. I mean, they really, truly have earned their partisanship when it comes to gun owners. There's no reason to vote for a Democrat these days.
It becomes a single issue voter stuff, and the days of Democrats that were socially very liberal but conservative on other things like constitutional rights, like they're almost extinct. There's maybe a handful left.
Yeah.
And it would be good, one of the things that has encouraged me in California is we are slowly winning the culture. I feel like we're still in the minority, of course, but it's growing. You see people, I think Bruen, people getting carry permits for the first time. There's excitement, there's YouTube videos, and
Truly.
the community is growing, so that's helpful. And I hope long term we can win back some of the left, because I don't think the Second Amendment will be secure if it's a one-party amendment. We need even a minority. If you had 20 or 30% of Democrats that got firmly behind the Second Amendment, they'd never be able to pass gun control again, because then you'd have all of one party, a solid minority of the other, and you're safe. But so long as it's a one-party thing, then you're always just one election away, constantly of losing.
It shouldn't be a controversial thing.
Yeah.
We're talking about a constitutional right.
Yeah.
No different than the right to free speech or to assemble or to petition the government for redresses or to prevent the police from just searching you on a whim. Like, this shouldn't be partisan and controversial. But for some reason it is.
And it shouldn't be, I agree. Thank you guys for coming tonight. It really means a lot that you guys are here at Gun Prom, and I hope you guys have fun.
Yeah,
We will.
Thanks for taking all this time.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and thanks for everything you do.
Thanks.
All right, there we go.
Hey, quick question. If you carry every day, when's the last time you actually wiped down your firearm? Yeah, exactly. Probably a long time. Problem is, sweat, lint, moisture, it builds up fast, and you should be taking care of it, but life gets in the way. That's why I like the Seal One gun rag. I just keep it right next to my EDC, and at the end of the day, you do a quick wipe with your Seal One gun rag. It only just takes a few seconds. I mean, it's super, super easy. Cleans, lubricates, protects, all in one step. Smells nice too, so you can dab it behind your ears and use it as aftershave. Go grab a Seal One gun rag at your local store and make it a part of your routine. Seal One gun rag, check them out.
Okay, what's your name and who you with?
My name is Drew Grant. I'm with Range Tech.
Okay, fantastic. And we're here at NRA annual meeting in Houston 2026. And I wanted to ask you the question that's on everyone's mind. Everyone's really talking about this. It's hard hitting. It's something that can't get away from. And I wanted to hear your impressions of what do you think of the Sabrina Carpenter and Madonna duet?
I never even heard about it.
Okay, fantastic. Great job. Have a good show.
Thanks.
Emily Stanley from Princess and the Pistol.
Yes, sir. That's me. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Welcome to NRA. We're here in Houston 2026 at the annual meeting. Now, tell everybody, what is Princess and the Pistol?
So that's my brand. I make social media content for women, specifically on concealed carrying, and my little tagline is self-defense without sacrificing style. So yeah, how to carry in your everyday outfits, look cute, and not give up your gun.
I got to tell you, it is something I've been carrying for years, but carrying and looking cute has always been a priority of mine. I haven't quite. I got to tune in.
I think we need, if with what you're wearing right now, if we
Yeah.
add like a little hair bow, maybe
That'd
a
be
headband
nice.
or something,
I'm with
we
you.
can accessorize.
I know.
Accessories are everything, you know.
Dakota's telling me the same thing every day. I just don't listen. So, I don't know.
He's a horrible listener.
So tell me, how did it begin?
Well, I started.
First off, actually, were you fashion first and then got into guns, or were you guns and then married it with fashion?
That's a great question, actually.
Thank you. Did you hear that, Dakota?
I did.
Yeah.
Once in a while, you hit a home run. Once in a while.
Well, I was actually a tomboy growing up, and so I, anti-pink, anti-dresses, blah, blah, blah. So when I was around 19 is when I started developing a sense of style. So by the time I turned 21, I was like, wait, now I have to like dress like a man in order to protect myself. I was like, that's not cool. I don't want to do that. So I started looking for other creators who would like talk about like how to be fashionable and stuff. And a lot of the things I was seeing, because this was like about 5 years ago, I was seeing a lot of like garbage advertised to women. So for example, one of them that I very starkly remember was a piece of lace, and it was stretchy, and they said wrap this around your gun and then your leg and you're good to go. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. So anyway, I started making the kind of content that I was looking for myself. I started documenting my journey. I think the first holster I ever bought was the Filster Enigma, and it was I had to wait on a wait list for that one because back then there was a wait list.
Yes, yeah. Back in the early days when they sold out like day one, and they were like, "What happened? We don't have any more."
Yep, I was like watching so quickly for it to like come back in stock, and I like raced to my computer and I was like, yeah, I was very proud to get one of those, but it was a race. But yeah.
What did you like about it when you were looking? So you were having issues. Clearly, it's a male-dominated industry, or at least it was. I'm not sure it is anymore, but it was, and you were worried about just how masculine everything was. What did you like about the Filster?
So
before you even got it, like what made you try?
So I was looking for something that would give me the ability to carry, and not just like, I don't wear a belt that often. I don't wear like baggy clothes. I wanted something that would give me the ability to wear it with like skirts and dresses and leggings, because I wear leggings a lot. And I came across that. I don't actually remember exactly how I stumbled across it, but I know I was like Googling like all these different kinds of things regarding holsters, and it was really important to me to carry safely and to have like that kind of like Kydex trigger guard and like all those things, and you didn't see a lot of that, and I really didn't want to go like the belly band route, which is really popular back then and is still to a degree. And so when I saw the Enigma, I was like, oh, this is kind of like a belly band but safer and like looks more productive. And so I kind of like stalked them for a while and like was like looking at all their content, their website and everything, and their Facebook group, and then eventually I was like, oh, finally I'm able to get one.
So you can wear it with anything. Like basically, it was
pretty much
sounds
like I can't wear it in a bodycon dress, but I can wear it in dresses and skirts and whatnot. If I was wearing the skirt high waisted, I could wear it with this one, but I'm wearing it low waisted today, so we're doing a little different carry option. But yeah, it was the first one I bought because I did a lot of research. I didn't want to be one of those people who had a box full of holsters. Which ended up being the case anyway, because now people just send me their holsters to try, but was not my own doing.
It really is more difficult for women. You guys have there's a lot of different kinds of outfits. I mean, guys, it's some kind of pants or some kind of shirt,
Yep.
and I wear the same thing. I have like 4 of the same shirt and 3 of the same pants. I wear the same thing every day. If I need to get dressed up, I'll put shoes on rather than flip-flops. I mean, it's pretty easy to be a guy when it comes to dressing. So I'd imagine it's difficult. I imagine it's a challenge. I don't know if difficult's the right answer or right word, but it's definitely a challenge. But it seems like you've made it a fun challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that there's not an outfit I can't conceal carry in with one holster or another. So yeah.
Is that on your website or on your social media?
It is not.
That a saying?
That's just something
There's
I
not
just
an
said
outfit
right now.
I should totally coin that.
Yeah, I think one of the things about the options for women is like obviously when you're not wearing a belt, you're losing all of those like belt-mounted holster options, which obviously there's tons and tons of choices in that realm. But then when we start thinking about on-body carry that's not belt-mounted, there's not a ton of safe options out there, and a lot of what is marketed, especially towards women, is really like egregiously unsafe. So when you were kind of doing your research, how did you know, or what about, the advertisements showed you or made you feel like that probably isn't a safe option? Like, what made you think these are the standards that I need met in my holster?
Well, honestly, it was a little bit of trial and error per se, and the thought process was because I was like looking at it and I was like, oh well, this one's advertised by a lot of women and they like it a lot, and I was like, so I would like look into that product really deeply, and I was like, oh, that's just like kind of a pocket, and I was like, technically I could like alter it and put like a trigger guard in it, but I don't really want to do that, and so it was just really just like really looking into every single product, because a lot of these products would have like all these women talking about how great they were, but then I would like look at them from like what I considered a safe point of view, and I was like, well, that doesn't really fit the bar of what I'm looking for,
Yeah, well, I'm curious, like, how you even knew that there were safety standards, because a lot of people, when they get into concealed carry, they start with the unsafe ones, and then as they train, they realize, oh, this isn't safe, and then they kind of pivot. But you seem like you came into it with a safety mindset.
I guess I don't know that I really got it from somewhere. I know that you got to take care of your tools, and I know the different parts of a gun and how they work really well, and so I knew what I wanted to know, that the gun's never going to go off when I'm wearing it. So I didn't even take a class for years after I started carrying for the first time, so I didn't get that information from like anyone specific. I just knew that wouldn't be super productive for safety.
Yeah, you just had like a gut feeling, like I need this to be...
I was like, your finger could go through that, looked at it from that point of view. My mindset's very much problem solving, critical thinking skills type thing, so it just worked out well.
Right here, hold it right here. There you go. I just want to make sure I get every word.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think it's so interesting hearing how different people came into their concealed carry journey. The Enigma was actually like one of my first holsters as well, as like one of the very first things I got, which is funny. It's like we're right at that age where it was just kind of coming out as we were getting into our concealed carry journey. But if we had been like 3 years sooner or 3 years later, it may not have been that way for us. But when you started your brand, kind of walk us through that journey. So you got your concealed carry permit, you started making content because you wanted to show women what safe options were out there, right?
Yeah.
And then how did your brand grow from there?
So I actually actively avoided the firearms industry side of things for years, because the only things I ever saw snippets into were the bad parts, and coming into it now I've seen that there's good and bad and everything, and there's definitely more good, but so it started out kind of slower, but I had the mindset of if anything I post is helping even one person, then it's worth it. And every once in a while I get a comment from someone who was like, oh wow, I didn't know about this, that really helped. And so I was like, well, that was the one person I wanted to help, so clearly I should keep doing this, and then maybe I'll help another person. So yeah, I honestly, the type of content I was making, I just stole ideas I saw fashion influencers doing, and I was like, oh, they're showing their outfit in this way, so I would show my outfit in that way, and then I would add a gun, and I was like, same thing, but there's a gun here now. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, your content is so fun, very relatable. Your outfits are always so cute, and so it was really fun for me to run into you here.
Yeah, I know, it's so nice to meet people that you talk to online, and then you finally get to see them, and then see them again, and yeah, I love that part of the industry. It's my favorite.
Is this your first NRAM?
Yes, actually. I was supposed to go last year, but my flight got canceled because I believe it was in Georgia last year.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm not driving overnight to be there, so I just didn't go.
Are gun people critical of what you do? I mean, do you take criticism, or are people pretty accepting?
I'll say I will take constructive criticism, but I don't take criticism from the many people who have lots of opinions that are dumb.
Grumpy jerks.
But,
You don't listen to grumpy jerks?
Exactly. I don't listen to the grumpy jerks or fuds. But if someone has constructive criticism, of course I'm always open to that. But yeah, you get a lot of hate when you're on the internet, especially when you accidentally dwell out of the gun space. Occasionally I'll have something go very viral, and then all of a sudden I have all these comments from the normies per se, who are guns. Guns are scary. Why are you wearing a dress and having a gun? That's crazy. And then I'm like, actually, I mean, it's pretty normal to want to protect yourself. Have you seen all these news stories in your area lately about all these bad things happening to women? Because, you know, it's unfortunately, we do not live in a super safe world all the time, so better prepared than not.
But so do you, like, do gun people, like, what's the criticism? Are they just like, oh, well, you know, do they discourage you from being innovative with the outfits and like, hey, just do this, it's the right thing to do? Or like, what's the criticism?
Well,
I don't know if we want to go into that. Do we want to go into that?
We can go into that
All
a little bit. So there's different types, okay? There's the guys who are like, for one thing, a lot of them will think I'm just like not carrying in a holster with the filster because they've never heard of it before. So like, you can't just shove your gun in your pants. I'm like, that's crazy because I literally tagged the holster I'm using. But so it's the guys who've never heard of it, so they think I'm just like shoving a gun somewhere. There's the ones who might have heard of those holsters, but because it's not a belt holster, it's bad.
That's so weird.
Yeah, they're like, if it's not a revolver on your belt in the 4 o'clock position, you're wrong.
That's so weird.
You're going to get killed in the streets. It's like, okay.
I mean, I totally get it if someone were anti-gun or, you know, they just weren't educated on it or whatever. Or if they were really into fashion or whatever and they're upset that you're involving guns in their... I guess I would understand why there would be some pushback, but I don't understand why anybody who's a gun owner who's passionate about the Second Amendment, where do they find the time in the day to be grumpy towards you? This sounds like fantastic content.
Thank you. Yeah, well, you know, there's always going to be someone who has this very strong opinion. You know what they say about opinions, so I'm not going to say that, but they do say that. You know, I think people, when they don't know about something and they don't understand about something, that it scares them. And then there's just people who are grumpy in general, so if they don't understand something, they want to complain about it, you know?
What's like the coolest compliment you've ever gotten? Or has there been like a time when somebody you'd heard of, you know, chimes in on your material or something like that? Like, what's something you were just like, wow, and it totally made your month?
You know what, I will say, okay, we've met several times now. She's super sweet, but I was looking at various accounts who were following me, and Instagram had like filtered them into like follower accounts, and I was like, oh, who's that? I click on this person following me, who's Lena Mikulik, and I was like, world champion shooter, and I was like, what? She follows me?
That's so fun.
Yeah, I was like so starstruck. And then we've met a few times now. She's the sweetest, most genuine person you'll ever meet. But
everybody loves her. Guys love her, women love her, everybody loves her.
Honestly, in order to not like her, you just have to be a bad person, I feel like.
It is one of those deals. It's like if if you don't like her, it probably says a lot about you and nothing about her.
Nothing about her. Yeah.
I don't really know much about her. I know she's extremely accomplished. I know her obviously her dad is extremely accomplished and everything. I almost bought her. It's the 365, right? Doesn't she have like a signature?
Yeah, she did. She used to work for SIG, she came. They have the 365 XL, which is a rose version.
I almost bought that. I almost bought the rose version, but that's about as much as I know about her. It's good to hear that she's a sweetheart, though.
Oh, definitely.
She's fantastic to you.
Yeah,
awesome.
No, she's great. She's really nice to everyone. So.
Now, do you come to NRA every year?
Well, this is the first time I've been to this event. I've been making my rounds to all the various events, goals, SHOT Show, all the things. I try and make as many as I can. But yeah, so yeah, this is the first time at NRAM though.
What do you think?
So far, so good. I mean, it's interesting to see the differences between the different shows. Like you walk in and they kind of all look the same.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, look, it's a mix of like the first and second floor of SHOT Show, but they're mixed into one. Yeah. Condensed.
Yeah.
What's the goal at NRAM? What are you looking to accomplish, or who would you like to reach out to?
Well, with this particular show, I'm just like kind of renewing and talking to all the people I know already. This one specifically, it's 45 minutes away from where I live, so I was finally not having to travel, so that was nice. But yeah, just like going to say hi to everyone, and I keep running into like everyone I know. It's awesome. I love getting to see my friends and reconnect with all my companies, and so yeah, I enjoy that.
And there's probably a big goal of yours to be on Gun Owners Radio. I'm sure that was a major driver.
Yeah, I walked by, I was like, gonna be on that someday when I make it big.
Nice. So where do people find you? Do you have like a platform of choice of preference?
Really, you can find me anywhere. Princess and the Pistol on any social media platform. Instagram probably gets the most curated, nicest looking, but I'm also on X and TikTok and YouTube and Facebook. Yeah, if it's social media, I'm probably on it.
And tell me the name, Princess and the Pistol.
Princess and the Pistol,
Why
yep.
Princess and the Pistol?
Well, I was thinking of what might be a fun username, and I was like, oh look, I'm Princess and the Frog, but my frog is a pistol. Or Princess and the Pea, but the pea is a pistol, whatever.
That's cute. Yeah, no, I like that a lot. One thing that is so fun about your content is that you do get a totally different listener or follower base than what a lot of our type of show gets folks who are super into guns already, who want the most latest information about politics and whatever. And I feel like you have a lot of folks who are very fresh on their journey, looking for good information. And so they start with you. They're these baby gun owners who don't know anything yet. And they're like, who can I look up to? So I think that's really fun. And it definitely is, making an impact on people in positive ways. So
thank you. Yeah, that means a lot. That's what I want to do, is make a positive impact in even one person's life. That's what it started. I had just a couple hundred people following me, and I was like, but hey, I have a couple hundred people. This is that's really cool. And now it's a couple more than that, but I still try to think of it in the perspective of each one of these people. I could be helping change their life a little bit, even in small ways, like finding them a good holster. So that matters, and that's why I do it. So
do you have a career in another field as well?
I do. I design and produce graphic tees for a small boutique, but I am also recently became certified as a firearms instructor, so hoping to do more with that at some point. But yeah.
Dude, women, you guys are taking over the freaking world. I'm telling you, I have talked to so many firearms instructors this weekend who are women. And I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who started out hating guns or being afraid or just not interested. Actually hating guns, really truly disliking the world of firearms ownership. And something happened and they got involved, and now they're running their own organization, their own school, their own business where they're teaching people. It's phenomenal. It's definitely one of the themes of the weekend. I hear from people, just about everybody I've interviewed, is how many women are getting more involved in firearms ownership and training. Whereas 15, 20 years ago, it was a goal. Everybody talked about how, we got to get more women involved. Now it's actually happening, or it has happened and has continued to grow. What do you think it is?
I think it could be in part that we have so much more information out there about what's going on in the world. We're fed all the bad things that are happening, and so I feel maybe more women are wanting to take that role and being able to protect themselves and their families. I say that because people talk about, when I was a kid, we were allowed to run out in the street and do whatever we wanted, and they're bad things didn't happen. Well, maybe you just didn't know about the bad things happening, but now we know everything at the drop of a hat. Anything bad happens, everyone knows about it because it's on social media. So I think people are maybe just willing to take a step into being able to control what happens to them.
I think you're probably right. I think the information, the availability of information is probably a huge factor in it. So would you say that, last question, I know you got to get going, would you say that men have something to worry about with women taking over the world? Should we be afraid? Or how should we prepare?
Clearly we handle everything really well, so you're good. You're good.
Right, good to know.
Just be nice to us and we won't be mean to you.
Good to know. I think those are great parting words. Thank you so much for sitting down with us. Awesome to meet you, Emily. So Princeton the Pistol, any social media platform, just search Princeton the Pistol and they'll find you.
Yep.
And fantastic. Great.
Yeah,
well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Perfect.
And there's so many folks that every year talk about how much they care about the Second Amendment and whatever. And I ask them, did you vote in the last election? Their answer is no. If you care about the Second Amendment, you have to vote in this election.
If you're in San Diego, there are 4 votes, there are 4 candidates that you can really make a difference. I mean, cast your vote for governor, But what I really want to convince you of is that you can actually do something to help 4 candidates. The 4 candidates are John Franklin, who's running for supervisor, Christy Bruce Lane, who's running for state senate, and then there are 2 candidates in Chula Vista. Chula Vista is a city council that we could take over in June.
Yes.
In June, you could take and Chula Vista is a big city. Something like, what is it, like 250,000 people, I think, in Chula Vista.
At least, yeah.
So, and there are 2 people running. We've endorsed, 2 of them, Chuck Sanfilippo and Martinez. There are 4 votes, whether you're in South County, Central County, or North County. There's somebody that you can focus on rather than, do a bunch of hand wringing and posts of memes up on Facebook over, who's going to win for governor. So check out our voter guide, get our voter guide into the hands of somebody else, help these campaigns, give them $10, give them a couple hours on a Saturday, whatever you can do, and you can absolutely make a change right here in San Diego. You can do something effective to make a change.
Ashton Hammond from OSITE.
Yes, sir.
We're here in Houston at the NRA Annual. How you doing, man?
Great, man. I'm glad to be here. A lot of people at this event, and cool to be in a different area than last year from Atlanta. So it's a cool area.
Yeah. So do you go to these every year?
Yeah, so every year since our company started, we've been trying to make it to all these big events, SHOT Show, some CanCon, NRA. We have a couple more events that we have on our roster that we'd like to get to. So yeah, we plan on coming to this event next year as well.
That's phenomenal. Okay, so tell us about OSITE.
All right, so we're an optics manufacturer. We manufacture red dot optics. We have some green dots, RMR footprint, RMSC. We stepped into the industry in 2025 last year at the beginning of the year. We came to SHOT Show and we dropped our OSITE X and our OSITE S. And what made us revolutionary to the industry was our magnetic charging cover system.
Magnetic charging cover system.
Yeah.
So talk about that. That sounds high tech.
Yeah, so it is. There's a lot of innovation went into this one. So basically, traditional red dots in the past have been coin battery style, and unfortunately, some you even had to pull the optic off to change the battery, which concerns with zeros and things like that. So we're trying to make it to where we could try to figure out how we could change the industry. So this magnetic cover removes the use of batteries altogether inside the optic. So this cover drops on top and it magnetically charges it through a connection. We had patent pending last year, but we just got patent approval so we're the only company that will be having that technology into it, and it charges it up, no batteries needed at all, USB-C to the charger, and you're good to go.
Oh wow.
That's really
phenomenal.
interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've never even heard of that.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I'm not even sure I understand it. But it sounds like I don't need batteries anymore, and that part is crystal clear to me.
Yep, yeah, so battery life, we have some of our optics that are, 70 to 100 plus thousand hours, depending on which one you have and brightness and levels and things like that. 3 covers, or the charging cover could do 3 full charges from 0 to 100. Now with the brand new one we just dropped, the OSITE XR, you can get 5 charges with 1 charge on the cover.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's really cool. Technology is awesome, but we also, for people who didn't really like that magnetic charging cover, where they're kind of like, hey, that's new, we don't really know about that, we dropped a line of optics that use a traditional coin battery. So you pull out the tray and pop it back in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dakota, I don't know if we've talked about it. Do you use a red dot?
Yeah.
What do you use? Or not the brand, but like use it on your pistol, rifle, like what's your...
All of the above. The
really?
only gun I don't have a red dot on is my shotgun.
Yeah.
But that's just because it would put me in a different division for 3 gun, so I'd rather just do the red dot on pistol and rifle. But yeah, like pretty much exclusively competing with red dots these days. Occasionally there's a match, like the local match, the Rainbow Range one, where you can't play in the team games unless you use iron sights to like try to keep everything fair, I guess. But yeah, aside from like a requirement at a match, I'm running a dot all the time.
What about like your carry gun? Do you have one on your carry gun?
One of my 2 carry guns, yes, but the gun that I carry the most often is iron sights.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I have 2 that I carry. One of them has an optic. One of them is total iron sights. And I don't really have a reason. I'm definitely not somebody that you had to drag kicking and screaming into the red dot world.
Right.
Like I think they're great. I think they're fantastic. I know it seems like 10 years ago there were a lot of people that were grumpy and like, hey, I'm not, it's good enough for me and Jeff Cooper. It's good enough for,
Now it's pretty standard, man.
Accepted.
It's almost like if you are going to release a pistol and you don't have some kind of compatibility with an optic, with a red dot, you're probably going to fail. It seems like we're at the point where it's required.
Yeah, for sure. I see a lot of manufacturers coming out with standard RMSC, RMR footprints directly from the factory nowadays. In the past, you'd have to send it off and get it milled, so it's pretty cool to see a lot of companies adapting that. So that's the market that we went to, is the RMR, RMSC footprint. Do you guys traditionally use the same patterns on your stuff? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty common for us. So.
Well, on my AR, I've gone through a lot.
Oh,
I've gone through a lot of different. There's a lot going on my AR over the last few years.
I believe that, Mike.
Yeah. It's always. This is it, and it's perfect now.
Yeah.
For about a year, and then
swaps over.
Yeah.
Have you been like a red dot magnifier guy or LPVO kind of guy?
No, so I started out. The very first optic I had on my AR was an EOTech, old school EOTech, with an N-sized battery. Have you ever even heard of an N-sized battery?
No.
Yeah, no, they don't exist. The only
I think it was before I was born.
Yeah,
perhaps.
I'm like, no.
The N-sized battery, it was like my EOTech and some manufacturers of garage door openers.
Wow. Yeah.
So I've switched. I'm almost kind of vamping here because honestly I can't even remember what's on my AR at this point.
Oh yeah.
It's I think it's what's the Trigicon
MRO, the red dot.
Yeah.
They have a MRO.
The miniature rifle.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, the mini ruggedized optic.
Yeah. That's what I got.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Green or red? Green or red? Red. Okay. You like green at all?
I haven't messed with green. I remember not liking amber.
Okay. Yeah.
But I haven't really tried green much, and red just kind of. One of the reasons I went away from EOTech was number one, the battery.
Yep.
Which sounds like you solved that, and then I made it even worse with having an N-sized battery, whatever the hell that is. But then I'm also one of those guys. I don't see a crisp circle. I see a bunch of little dots.
For sure.
So I kind of, and at first I thought my EOTech was broken, and I thought, well, that's weird. But
no, it's your eyes.
It's
your
my
eyes.
My eyes are broken.
Yeah.
So I just wanted just a red dot or a dot. I mean, red happened to be the color I bought.
So we went through a lot of analytics for green and red users, and to be honest, it was pretty much 50-50.
Really?
And that was very surprising when we ran that test. A lot of people also say that they see different things through the same optic. So we realized that no matter what, there's going to be people have that different eyesight, and it's going to, potentially say that one person sees a different fuzziness amount or whatever it may be. Stigmatism and things like that can also attribute to what you see inside the dot. So it was pretty interesting to see that was 50-50 between green and red. I prefer red. Even I was in Orlando, grew up in Orlando. We have trees, green background everywhere, so the red really pops against it. But now I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. I have this desert-like background, so I can see the use of where green might come into play for some of these people because it really pops against this desert red, earthy, style rock background that I'm used to. So,
so what is the background of the company? Like, how did you guys come to be?
Yeah, so we came out with a optic. The first one, we're out of Phoenix, Arizona. We came out with it, Osight X, and the first release of the company, there was talks about how we were going to start, and it was a lot. How do you make a product in the red dot industry today that is disruptive? And that's the main thing. You can't come out and think you're going to have a legendary product and it just be a traditional product that's already out. Companies like Holosun, Trigicon, Leopold, they've been proven in the industry, so how can you compete with a company like that? And that's where we had to come out with this disruptive technology that's so innovative that when people see it, just like you, I've never even heard of it. What is that? I still don't know how it even works. So when I hear that, it perks me up and it makes me excited to tell you guys about it, and it's new. It makes people be interested, they're intrigued, they stop by the booth and they see this cover on the red dot. Hey, what is that? Is that just a occlusion, cover for dirt, debris? Well, no, it actually charges it, and it doubles as that cover as well. So it's cool to be able to, to make that disruptive product, and that was the first big step for the company, is trying to figure out how to make something like that to put our foot into the door into this industry.
Well, gun products too, I think notoriously people who make gun products make the mistake of solving a problem that doesn't exist.
Right.
And they're like, hey, look at this new bell or whistle or whatever, and and you just kind of like, all right, well, I don't even have that problem. Like, what's the deal? I remember I put a little O-ring around inside my BCG on my AR, the little O-ring where the spring is for the extractor.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, well, I got to get that O-ring. I mean, it's going to make everything better.
That's
Meanwhile-
big thing.
Yeah, meanwhile, I had no problems with
Right.
I wasn't solving anything.
Works fine.
So it sounds like you guys are the complete opposite. There is a very legitimate problem
For
when
sure.
it comes to battery life and red dots, and it sounds like that's something you guys have solved.
So a benefit of why a magnetic charging cover system might be more beneficial than a traditional battery is because we have a fuel gauge right on top that tells you what we call like a power ring, basically. So you have a percentage-based ring that shows you where you're at on charge on your optic.
Oh, wow.
So it's not a guess.
That's
you
great.
pop in a battery from Walmart, Walgreens, wherever you buy it, Amazon, most people nowadays, you put it into your optic, you still don't know the percentage of that battery of where it's at. That battery could have been sitting on a shelf for 15 years, and now it's at 50% of where it should have been. You put it in your optic, most people change about every year. So now you have something on top that tells you where you're at. So if you're going out on your big trip, you can pop it on the cover, charge it up, and you're good to go. There's no guessing. You don't have to go to the store and buy that battery. Worse is you're out and about and you draw it up and your battery on your optic is dead. Now you don't have anything. Some people run co-witness sites. Some people don't. They say they get in the way. But either way, you're relying on a red dot when it's not there. That's going to add some amount of time to the thought process before you pull the trigger if it is in a situation, because you're looking for something, it's not there, and your brain's telling you it's not ready to shoot, and you're still trying to find the red dot. Competition, self-defense, shooting at the range, whatever it is. So now that you have this whole mechanism that can take away all that guess just by popping it on before you go to the range, before you carry it to a competition, before you use it in your EDC, you have this on top to give you the reassurance of where you're at with battery life.
And that's part of the way you're marketing this is, I think, is pretty gutsy. You sponsor a team, right?
Yep. We have a shooting team. We have a pro
that's
team and a regular
that's putting
team.
your money where your mouth is. Going,
It is.
hey, look, we like our product, we like it so much, we're gonna put a team together to beat everybody with.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. It was a thought. To be able to get into it, it is risky. You're sending out these guys to battle against the best shooters in the world that are using all the other competitors for us gear. So the other red dot manufacturers, they have their teams if they do. So we're like, if we can put it out there, we can win these matches, improve the reliability, the durability, because competition shooting is rugged. You're throwing your gun sometime into barrels, you're running, jumping, all these crazy things. You're putting thousands of rounds of practice ammo, and then you're traveling all around the world. Your guns are in luggage, getting beat up, all these crazy things. So it's proven that they're going to be able to work. So yeah, pro team started up. I'm the team captain of the pro team. We signed Max Lee Grandis, which is the 9 times PCC national champion. Since they started the division, he has not lost. He's an amazing PCC shooter, and we signed Justine Williams, one of the best female shooters I've ever seen in the competition altogether. World champion, national champion, amazing shooter all around. So we added them to the pro team, and we started up a regular shooting team as well. And we have some other members on there, Breno Lima, Gorka Ibanez, we have Tyler Meisenheimer, some of these top shooters from all around the nation that joined our company, and they're out there, fending for us.
How do you recruit? I mean, that sounds like a great roster.
Yeah.
So how do you recruit? You guys are a relatively new company.
For sure.
A couple, 3 years? 4
Yeah,
years?
we started up in the beginning of 2025.
that's
1.5 years
Yep.
old.
That's really new.
Yeah.
So how do you get top tier shooters like that? How do you recruit them to be on a team for a brand new company with a brand new product?
So that's a great question. So obviously they're not going to jump ship from wherever they're using before without being proven and being trusted. That's the first process. Letting them know that our optics are at a price range that is very affordable. We wanted to change the industry, not making sure you had to spend $500 for your gun and $500 for an optic. You can spend much less. The optic should not cost as much as the gun. So we put that off to them to let them know that, hey, that's kind of our motto. We're not trying to come in with a $600, $700, $800 red dot. We're coming in at a very affordable price range with something that's backed by a lifetime transferable warranty. Here's your optic. Give it a shot. Take it to your match. Put it through your personal test. Give us the feedback of what you might want to change, and we might be able to add those implementations into the next generation of the red dots. So we send out these dots to some of the best shooters in the world that are willing to accept it and put it through the test, and they did. And once they have that proven reliability and trust with the team, it's something that we are able to come together. We have an amazing squad. We travel around, our pro team. We try to travel to all the big matches together. We have media crews that go out and we give exposure to the shooters as well. And it's a good relationship between the both of us. So they prove the durability of the optics, and we support the shooting team to get us all around the nation and the world to be able to shoot against some of the other best shooters and show the optics work.
So whether it's during the R&D or after sales and some of the feedback you've gotten, what's the most surprising thing that's happened along the way?
Man, honestly, the amount of people who are willing to give honest feedback, that is something that is invaluable to us. You can always give somebody something in this industry, and whether they give you the great feedback or not, it's not something that you're going to know. Some people, will just say, yeah, it was awesome, but who knows? The people who really put in the time and the effort to give us this honest feedback and let us know is something that I would contribute to being the answer to that.
Right. I would guess that you're almost out there hoping for a no or hoping for a complaint.
Right.
Like, hey man, tell us, we got to know. Like, we need this thing to be better.
Yep.
I would imagine it's almost suspicious if they were like, oh, that's great.
Exactly.
Fine.
It is. Yeah, it's concerning for sure because, we do rely on that feedback to put those implementations in it. So what we've been doing now is we're doing range days all around the nation. So we send out some of our representatives from the company. We'll book out a range. We'll pay for all the ammo. We'll bring all the guns. We'll bring food, drinks, support all the community. Have them come out and we'll have a whole lineup of firearms for all the civilians, the pedestrians, the police, whoever it is that want to come and try it to prove it, the military, whoever wants to come that day and shoot it, it's all paid for that day. And they show up, they demo it all, and at the end, there's just a feedback form and they can let us know what they hated, what they loved, what they want to see, what they don't want to see. And that feedback from us is what we've been able to gather around, and that's why we're putting out products that are top sellers on Amazon.
So if somebody who wants an optic for their carry gun, what price range, and they want to go through O-Sight, what price range are they looking at?
Sub $200. So
sub 200.
Yeah,
that's
sub 200.
impressive.
Yep. We have some that are even digging into the 130 range. We have an open emitter K that's at the 130 range right now. But the SEs are the top sellers in the market. They're killing it on Amazon. They've held that top spot for a long time now. RMSC footprint, fully enclosed, multi-reticle. It's a spherical lens that has an amazing emitter. It's strong, it's bright, it has all the cool features, and the price range is sub $200 for that SE, coming in at $170 to $180 depending on the sale.
So if somebody's skeptical, if someone's going, there's just no way that the quality's there at that price. Like, how do you? Like, what do you tell them? How do you tell them that no, we got it figured out?
Yeah, lifetime transferable warranty. That's the thing is we're willing to back our product, no questions asked. You don't have no hassle, no paperwork, no nothing. If you have any issues with an optic, we're backing all of our products without doubt. So being able to prove that all of us are out there using these things reassures the people that, hey, I might be able to try that out. People like Justine mentioned and Max and stuff, seeing these people travel all around builds that trust with them. People using them more, influencers on YouTube, social media, it starts to build a hype around it. And once people see that they can actually afford to put that on multiple guns versus trying to spend $2,000 for 4 optics from a traditional company, now with $1,000 you can get those same 4 optics or more, depending on which ones you get, is what's reassured these people to try to use these things.
So maybe I may have found my next new solution for a problem I don't have.
For your accuracy
this might be it.
issues.
Yeah, exactly.
But well, you mentioned red and green dots, right? Mm-hmm. But you guys, do you have other shapes? I know some companies are doing chevrons. Yeah. Some companies have the big circle with the little dot.
Yep.
What's kind of your what are your main
So
options?
right now for our pistols, it's a traditional. We have some different size MOAs. We have the 6 MOA option for a couple dots. That's only 6 MOA. So if it's a traditional carry gun, you don't need the multi-reticle. Other than that, it's going to be a dot with a circle combo around it. We've looked at some other options and stuff, but most people have been asking for a traditional dot combo. But it is something that we're definitely looking into the future, is seeing what reticle styles we can implement into people, and if people want it, maybe we can make something that might dance through a few different reticle types. Who knows? So,
yeah, awesome.
Who do you think is? Who out there is your biggest competition? Who's somebody out there that you're just damn man, they're doing a good job. We can hold our own.
Yeah.
But man, they're doing a good job.
Yeah, honestly, at the price range that we're at, I don't think there's anybody that's at that exact level.
I think you're right. At that price range, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Is there anybody out there that's way too expensive that you're like, okay, these guys are good, man, we're coming for them, or hell, we already came for them and beat them.
For sure. So any of these companies, that like Trigicon that have that strong hold value, people know it works. It's ruggedized. It's wrapped around the military. People think about LEO and things like that. That'd be the level that we'd love to achieve one day. But Holosun, where they're at, they have the same kind of story. They started off at a really nice price point, but creeping up a little bit more. The products are amazing. They have different reticle types and stuff like that. But we still want to come in and have all those same features of Holosun, Trigicon, all these amazing companies, but the price point needs to be a little bit lower. So we feel like we're starting to overcome some of those obstacles and being proven, rugged, reliable, and the lifetime warranty, being able to slip that into people and ensure them it's going to work. I think we're starting to overcome some of these the companies, in my opinion. I think we're answering some of the questions, we're solving solutions for people, and we're being able to help get more red dots into more people's firearms to be able to get out there and shoot them.
I mean, I kind of knew this was going to happen. I remember the rule of thumb used to be to spend as much on your optic. Really, at the time, it was spend as much on your glass as your firearm.
For sure.
But that's because it was all glass. We were talking about old traditional scopes.
Yep.
And then red dots started coming out, and honestly, most of the people I know were spending more on their optic than they were on their AR or
100%.
Whatever. And you kind of know, if you look at technology in general, you just know that technology is going to be able to improve itself and lower the price. You know, if you look at it, you can't compare an F-150, a Ford F-150 today to a Ford F-150 in 1980. They're completely different products.
It's different
because of technology. So it makes sense that, okay, finally things have caught up. Manufacturing has the ability, you don't have to put as much into R&D because there are a lot of things that are free. It makes sense that prices are finally coming down.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely the manufacturing process for the optics is amazing. It's intriguing to me. I love to be able to see the behind the scenes and see some of those things about it.
Yeah.
One thing that we did that I wanted to mention about is our green dots. So green dots in the past, they cost quite a bit more than the red variant. We've seen that. We're not sure really why. But what we've done is we've actually changed the industry for the green dots. So we actually redirected and strengthened the photon's beam and made it a lot more direct. So what that's going to do is not have a lot of lost light, a strong emitter, and it also lets you to not use more power. So we're actually changing the red dot and green dot industry the best ways that we can. We're still trying to find more things because even if there is a traditional red dot, green dot, gold dot, whatever it is, there's still things that we can implement on and dig a little bit deeper on. So what we're trying to do is achieve this crazy maximum battery life that people can use, so where they can put the cover on, charge it up, and they're good to go for as long as they would if they're using a traditional coin battery per se.
I can't tell you how nice that sounds because there's definitely been times where you show up, you're like, I just changed the battery last night, I know I'm good, but now with the new coating, the kids safe, swallow, so that toddlers don't eat the batteries and die.
For sure.
They put this bitter coating on it, but some optics just don't like to use those batteries anymore.
Right.
So you have to this is a joke, lick it off, right? Get the taste off of it so that you can actually put it in your gun and it'll work. So I don't know, I think the concept of not having to deal with batteries is great, and then the charging life is nice too because I don't have any idea when my battery is going to go currently. There's no indicator. It's just hopefully it doesn't die in a match, hopefully it dies at the range instead.
Exactly.
That's literally the hope and a prayer.
And you found had you heard of them before the show, or did you just find them just now? You'd heard of them before the show?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
And their marketing with the having these superstars shoot and use their product as a competitor, as someone who carries, as someone who instructs, how influential is that on you?
I'll be honest, typically it's not super influential because most people can be bought. And that's just, the way, don't laugh. It's just the way it is in this industry, right? You as a competitive shooter, you're interested in going to a company that's going to give you good products, that's going to pay you well. And so I think for the most part, just because somebody joins a team, to me doesn't scream this is a quality product. But when you have some of the top shooters that are actually winning world titles consistently, they have to care about the reliability of the product because they care about their standings. There's other influencers and stuff that get sponsored by teams But I'm like, do they actually care how they do in a match? Probably not. Like, they're just here for the money or whatever. But their team is stacked with folks who care a ton about their performance and you know, getting those titles. So that, you know, in this case, yes, it was
What
influential.
is the most influential? Like, when you're out there looking at new optics or whatever, new products in general, what would you say is the most influential thing to you?
Personally, the money. I am such a cheap ass. Like, everybody was going to Dots like years ago, and I was grumpy. I was like, I am not freaking spending the same amount of money as I spent on my gun on this dot. I stuck with irons way longer than I should have.
Right.
When I eventually, finally, like kicking and screaming through $580 at an optic or whatever, I, you know, obviously I loved it. I love shooting a red dot, but I still was like, okay, well, it's just going to be on my competition gun. And even to this day, that's why I don't have a red dot on my carry gun, because I'm just cheap. But, you know, I think the price point makes it so much more, you know, possible for folks to get the same kind of dot across all of their guns, which is something like I got a used dot for my second competition, my backup competition gun, because I didn't want to pay full price for a new one. And that's worked out fine, but it would have been nice if they were both the same brand. I run a Trijicon on one gun and a Holosun on the other. It's not a huge difference, but it is different. If I have to go to my backup gun, there's a little bit of an adjustment period.
Yeah, it's under $200, so what if you make a mistake? You know, it's under $200.
Right, exactly. And like, I could put the same brand optic on all my guns and not have that transition period of the different shape of the housing and things like that. So
Now, how much? Now that kind of feedback, and you know, Dakota's an instructor. She is a competitor. She's really, really serious about gun ownership and influences other people. You teach dozens and dozens of women. It might even be more than that. Are you up to 100?
I had 900 students last year.
900 students. So when you hear her feedback, how much does that influence you, you know, as a business owner, what you're trying to do? And how much do you discount her feedback when you find out that she licks batteries?
Well, I mean, she did throw a little thing in there, you know, hey, this isn't for sure, but I feel like she actually does do that, though. She definitely removes that off there.
I was a little worried, which is gonna be honest. We might have a talk.
Yeah. So the feedback that she just gave, that's definitely it's honest feedback. I've been in the competitive industry now for 3.5 years, and that's exactly how I feel about every bit of this. Before I started, I spent $580 just like she did on the optics, and I thought that's what we had to do.
Yeah.
The backup gun came up. I didn't want to spend $580. I bought a used one for $400 of that one. So it's the same exact story to me. Just like I wanted to touch on, just like she said, anybody can be bought. You know, we could definitely go after the world champions and everything, and everybody has a dollar amount. But just like she said as well, they have to maintain that status. If you send this top shooter to a world championship with something that they're bought with that does not work, are they going to, finish where they should be? No. Well, then they're not the best shooter anymore, and they start to go down. Their reputation in the industry and where these top shooters are at is more important than any dollar amount, I promise you.
Yeah.
Talking to Max and talking to Justine, for my team especially, that can assure you that. She shot with Colt for many, many years. Those are big names. Max has shot for many companies, and he can shoot for really any company that wanted to contact him and get him across with that. That's not their motive, and that's not, what they're going for directly. So it's really cool to be able to see that the people at that top level are truly looking for a valuable relationship. Yeah. What I've seen with some of these top shooters is they want a lot to do with the R&D process of things to develop something that they can stand behind for sure. Because if we sign someone to the team and equip them with something we've created, they have no say in that dot. They only can give feedback on what the dot did for them at the time. Yeah. But if the shooter can be involved with that whole entire process from A to B to a final product being presented and boxed on the shelf, that's where I see that as huge, and having them on there will help gain a little bit more than the traditional feel of, hey, this shooter is just using that company's stuff.
Right.
No. Justine and Max have given the feedback to create this dot, and their name will be behind it and backed by that product. So I see that it can be a little bit different than what's traditional, and I hope that's what we can achieve for sure. And it's going in a good direction, but I'm the exact same way. People can be bought out there, and you got to take some stuff for a grain of salt what they're saying, because it could be something they're just strictly paid to say.
Cool.
So,
phenomenal.
Well, and I think when we're talking about these like top level shooters being involved in the R&D process. That's something not a lot of companies are doing. There's a ton of companies out there who are so set in their process, their R&D's done by the time they're bringing people on. They're not flexible enough or willing to take that feedback and change their products because they already have, they have everything they want. So I think it's a testament to the brand itself that you guys are willing to take that feedback, even if it ends up costing you more in the R&D. You're willing to do that because you want the brand to last, and I think that's really cool. Hopefully you'll be around next year.
There you go. For sure. I'm with you, Dakota. I agree. What's your website?
ositeworld.com.
OSIGHT.
Yeah, Osite World on Instagram. OSIGHT is our name of our company. We have post a lot of stuff on social media. We have a Facebook account. We have our website. You can check us out on Amazon as well. It's where we sell a lot of our optics as well.
Cool. And you guys are neighbors, man. We're in San Diego.
Yep.
You're in Phoenix.
Yep.
Maybe we should. Maybe we got to figure out how to get them to come out and do something cool.
Yeah. Come do a range day.
Introduce the
range day.
We've
come
got a
visit
great
our shop.
facility.
Yeah, we'd love to have you guys at our facility. Come visit you guys too.
Cool. Ashley, this is awesome. I'm so glad we met you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for taking the time, man.
For sure, pleasure. Appreciate you guys a lot. Thanks for having us.
You bet. Thanks.
Thanks.